So it will be a huge bonus for Kimi. It all really hinges on getting away. For him, he'll be hoping it's a rolling start. Then he doesn't have to worry about that launch.
Well, exactly. And we're going to find out whether that will be rolling, standing. I think at the moment, what's the call? We're saying...
Probably rolling, I think, with spray. We're seeing the safety car going around to check the conditions. The fact that it is not raining right now might get it closer to standing, but I think they're more likely to go rolling. First time in the wet here. Okay, predictions then, please, of who may win this sprint race. It's so hard.
Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen, a call for
I'm going to go Kimi Antonelli. I'm going to say he's going to hold on.
Yeah. In the wet, a masterclass from the rookie who became the youngest ever pole sitter yesterday in any format over an F1 weekend. What can he do? Leading off this one, however, indeed, we do lead it off. Thank you, Tom Christensen, for joining us. We'll be back with us through the course of the day. Thanks as ever, Chris. Well, the rain has fallen. It's still spitting. The formation lap will be behind the safety car. This is an exploratory session in so many ways, and you do not want to miss it. Get comfortable. It's the sprint race.
It is time to go racing in the USA. Welcome to our second sprint race of the season. This is the Miami International Autodrome, our venue for the 6th round of the Formula One World Championship in 2025. The formation lap is mere moments away. It will begin behind the safety car after the rain has come down and already eliminated one of our contenders. Charles Leclerc is out, and 19 will take the 19 laps around this configuration of circuit. The 19 turns, the official corner count. There are defining ones at turn 1, at turn 11 and turn 17 as well. But we are going to run a wet session for the first time around this circuit. Charles Leclerc's Ferrari already painted into the wall. The drizzle still continuing to fall on those in the grandstands. And here's how they line up then, with Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull, starting from the pit lane. Oliver Behrman will be the last car on the grid. He's in 19th position. We'll move forward to Gabriel Bortoleto in 18th. He's next to Jack Doohan, who was furious with how Alpine conducted their qualifying yesterday. Lance Stroll is in 16th. Carlos Sainz had an error that left him in 15th position on the grid. And it's Liam Lawson in 14th. He's next to Pierre Gasly, who went out early and couldn't find the speed required. Esteban Ocon is in 12th, and Hulkenberg is the highest he's been on a Formula One grid at any point this year, with 11th. Next is Fernando Alonso. He's next to Isaac Hadjar, finds himself in the top 10 once again, chasing his 3rd point score in Formula One. Alex Albon is in 8th position. He is next to Ferrari's Lewis Hamilton, going from 6th. Should have been Charles Leclerc, but he found the barrier on the reconnaissance lap and is out. A DNS for him. George Russell is P5. And then it is Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion, from 4th. Lando Norris, the winner of the Grand Prix here last year, from 3rd. Oscar Piastri once again on the front row, but for the first time in his Formula One career, it's Kimi Antonelli leading the line in conditions that the Italian teenager absolutely adores. Antonelli a wet weather master in the junior categories. But Jolyon Palmer, welcome to the main event. Welcome to the big leagues. Can he do it in Formula One?
Wowee, the stakes have been raised today, not only for Antonelli, who will lead away in Formula One for the first time from the front, but also for the rest of the field. These guys, the championship contenders, second, third, fourth, and tenuously fifth as well, with George Russell at the moment, all in the chase. And a sprint race that should be sort of minor points differences suddenly has a load more jeopardy riding on it. We've seen it already with Charles Leclerc on the intermediates, just getting round to the grid, putting it in the barriers. Everyone has started this race on the intermediates, with the exception of Carlos Sainz, I believe, in the Williams, who's done something different on from 15th position, gone for the full wet, which is a gamble, a shot at nothing, and I think it's the only option really. The track is going to be drying the whole way. Inters will get there, but it's going to be a slippery start.
The formation lap is underway. We will be sprinting in Miami once again. We've had this format around this circuit in the past. Last year it was Max Verstappen who triumphed in the sprint race in the Grand Prix. It was Lando Norris, but the drivers will be learning more on this lap than they would do on most formation laps, Joe.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is now the first foray on Inters for most of these drivers. Leclerc and Hamilton went round on the intermediates. Most then saw that go wrong and switched onto a full wet tyre to go round to the grid. The Inters, though, the reason Ferrari went for that risk was because it has to be the race tyre. Over 19 laps, there will be a crossover point where the Inter will be better. They just have to survive the early laps. And actually, Alex, looking at the track conditions down here at the Marina corners, not too bad.
That's down at turn 7, and you can see the view of the 18-year-old. 18 years and 251 days on the day he took pole position. The youngest ever pole sitter in any race format, whether it be sprint, whether it be Grand Prix. No one has ever been that fast when they're that young and at the head of a Formula One field. He is pushing on. His pace dictated by the safety car. And this is just the formation lap. Then a call for race control. They can do multiple laps behind the safety car if they deem that to be the right approach. They can go for a rolling start, or they can go for a standing start and let the drivers sort it out amongst themselves with that short run down to turn 1.
And you can see even at reduced speed, there is spray being kicked up off the back of these cars. So when the safety car is released and we go racing at some point, the spray is going to be such a big factor for those further back. Overtaking, in theory, becomes easier. Anything can happen.
Visibility even in P2 is terrible. And a big river in turn 10. Hope you guys got understood.
But that's the reality, is the visibility becomes so difficult. So even if you can follow cars more closely, there'll be no DRS, and visibility, just seeing where you're going, can be a struggle. And that's Piastri, who starts second. He's only looking at the safety car and Kimi Antonelli.
So we continue on, and we will have a second reconnaissance lap for the field as we peer through the spray. And we've got Max Verstappen. Now, was he behind the Mercedes there? I wonder if Max Verstappen had a moment. Let's have a look. Let's go on board, because I'm sure George Russell was ahead of him. This is the turn 17 chicane, and he's locked up.
He's gone straight on, just a lock up at low speed.
Oh, there was just enough room to recover.
Yeah, so that's the final corner where we just joined him on board at the end of that. He was fighting the car as he was coming back on as well. So Max feeling that there's absolutely no grip in that braking zone. Now that is a key overtaking place there.
So we continue to circulate behind the safety car. The cars don't refuel in the sprint. Let's hear from Antonelli.
Can't see anything behind the safety car. Okay, copy.
You can see Max Verstappen trying to retake his place in the field.
Which he can do, because whilst he was off the track, it's a formation lap. So he's allowed, he wasn't passed by the whole field, and he is therefore allowed to get back to his spot, which will be right there, and there he is, behind Lando Norris. So if you go off the road under full safety car conditions, then you can lose your ground, but under the formation lap there, he's able to return.
The sun is shining a bit stronger, but the starting procedure has been suspended. We'll have a 10-minute reset. They have gone out behind the safety car, assessed conditions, and race control have deemed it too wet to race. on the intermediate tyre. The red flag is officially out. We'll come back to the grid and we'll go again from the 10-minute marker.
Yeah, I mean, this visibility is genuinely the worst I've ever had in a race car.
Copy that.
And that seems to be the issue. I mean, we saw Max have the lock-up down at this corner, but the track surface water doesn't seem to be too horrendous. It is not like there's massive puddles like there was on the way to the grid for these guys, but the visibility and the long straights and the barriers, I think, mean that the water just collects, as you see there. This is at low speed, reduced speed. These cars can do 3 times the speed they're doing right now, 4 times the speed, and when they're doing that, they're going to be kicking up so much more spray that it will just be like driving blindfolded for the likes of Lewis Hamilton.
So we have 19 still in the race. We have Lewis Hamilton fighting the car, coming through even at reduced speed, and this is the visor cam that gives you an idea of what it looks like even at reduced speed. We come back to the pit lane under red flag conditions. We will line up in the order. Max Verstappen did regain his place in the field.
I have a problem with my visor. I think all the water is going in between the tear-off.
So the water can splodge between the tear-offs. You'll have a few tear-offs, maybe 3 or 4 very thin plastic films that the drivers, most people I'm sure have watched the race before and seen the drivers flinging those tear-offs off to the side of the road, and it means that you then get your good visibility again. But when it rains, that is a thing that can happen where the tear-offs are not sealed together, and Stroll, thankfully, will come back to the pits and has a chance to do something about that as well.
Well, we did not start the clock, so the maximum 1-hour window remains for the running of these races that usually take about half an hour all the way through. And this does give an opportunity now for Carlos Sainz to abandon his full wet tyre and change to an intermediate. But the visibility is not what the drivers want. And race control have monitored the situation. They will hear all the driver radios. They will look at all the footage that you are seeing at home. They have a massive wall of screens where they will have a look, and they have assessed it is too wet to race. The visibility isn't good enough.
Can we change the headrest again? I'm way too far back.
So the start procedure is suspended. Race control will restart that, and it will be 10 minutes until we get going again. So the drivers are talking admin right now, Jolyon, whether it be tear-offs on the visor for Lance Stroll or the headrest for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, so I think Max just wants a little bit more padding behind his head on the headrest. That's the big bulky part that just came out from behind Max's head. It comes across the side of the cockpit as well, and you have just a thin little bit of padding to keep your head at the right angle. I'm kind of surprised that that's not fairly well in place for Max at this stage, but he's had a reprieve then with the red flag. Driver comfort is 101 really, you'd have thought, but still tweaks being made then to Verstappen's cockpit positions, to Stroll's visor, and they'll all get a second chance. And I'm hopeful that we're not going to be waiting too long, because it is drying up, it's warm, and I don't think the track looked that bad, but obviously the spray was such a bad factor there.
And Fernando Alonso instantly out of the car. Driver who's trying to score his first points of the season today. Any place in the top 8 will do it for him. A reminder that Charles Leclerc is not part of that top 10. He went on the reconnaissance lap on the intermediate tyres at the exact moment that the rain intensified. So many people with a vantage point of this circuit, hosting its 4th Grand Prix weekend with the deal to take them all the way to 2041. It is the 80th time a round has been held in the US that counts towards the World Championship, and we are waiting to see whether the youngest ever pole sitter in Formula 1 history will get the opportunity to lead the cars off the line and get that maiden win in Formula 1. 1 year on, Lando Norris doing the same thing in the Grand Prix format. Yuki Tsunoda has been for a quick comfort break. He's heading back to the car. Drivers take on so much fluid ahead of the race, expecting to time it perfectly, expecting to be racing for 30 minutes and going to work and then having to jump out.
Yeah, you want to time your hydration, whether it's a long stint or a short stint, and this is not the Grand Prix distance. So yeah, you want to jump out when you're in the cockpit anyway, and not going anywhere, and that's what most of the drivers that we've seen have done. Ollie Behrman looking chilled and chatting with his engineer, just regrouping their thoughts on what's going to happen. You see Lando Norris staying in the cockpit there as we see Oscar keeping cool on the outside. But it's one of those things I personally like to get out. I got claustrophobic because you're strapped in so tight. Even if you slacken the seat belts, you're kind of snug as a bug in a rug when you're in there. The seat is molded to you, but when you get hot and you're not going anywhere, personally, I wanted to get out. Other drivers like Lando's staying in and keeping their focus on the job in hand. Different methods for different drivers. We see it from time to time. It's all about keeping the focus, because you're right, the hydration plans will have been tailored towards a 30-minute sprint race, but also all of your race prep as well. Your chats with your engineers, Hajar, keeping cool in the garage now. You need to think about your setup, your balance. Can you tweak some front wing? There's not a lot you can do, but a bit of front wing angle could be changed. Your tyre choice obviously is a big one, and then regroup in your head what is going to be a difficult sprint race still. 18 laps now that we've had another one, but still long enough and complex around this circuit.
Looking at Lando Norris and his mirror ball design on the one-year anniversary of his first Grand Prix win. Good time to check in with our strategist on F1 TV and say hello to Ruth Busker.
Thank you very much, Alex Jace. Well, it's all started so strategically for a sprint race, because right now all of the strategists are going to be looking both at the sky and at the ground. We are currently under red flag procedure. Now, what can they do? They can change tyres. We've already seen Carlos Sainz opt to take that extra wet, that slick wet tyre. He can now change to an intermediate for free. What else can they do? They can fix any damage. We heard Max Verstappen asking for a change in padding. There are certain tweaks they can do. They can't change the setup, and if they want to change parts, it's like for like. Now, strategy, it is constantly evolving. If we get a restart right now, looking at the ground, it's clearly intermediate conditions. It's actually stopped raining, and you can see just as my hair starts to frizz up in the humid heat, it's 32 degrees track temperature. It's 24 ambient. It was the spray that was the issue there. So as soon as we get full racing out on that sprint lap, it is going to dry up very, very quickly. If we don't get any more rain, currently there's nothing predicted for at least the next 30 minutes on the radar. We could even see some slick running, but everything changes down here in the 305.
Thank you, Ruth. Appreciate that update down from the paddock. This is a race where the opportunity to try something different for those outside of the top 8 positions will be sizable. But we have had a pretty dramatic start before we even got going. We've just seen Lewis Hamilton. We now look at Fred Vasseur, but we've only got one Ferrari, Jolyon, waiting for the start.
Charles Leclerc never made it round to the grid, and that's because he has this moment here, just aquaplaning, where the intermediate tyres he was on didn't cut through the water, and there's just too much water there. It's actually lifted the car as he swept through the high-speed turn there at turn 10, building the speed, battered into the barriers, and did enough damage there to the right-hand side that he couldn't make it back round. And that's a big shame for him, because if he had just made it in some form, they'd have had a lot more time to work on the car, but it wasn't to be for Charles.
He was one of the first cars out of the pit lane, went for the intermediate tyres. There might be a few watching at home questioning why they went for the inters. Tell us why the team would want to use that tyre in that condition.
Well, because look, on the face of it, it looks ridiculous. You know, the conditions were so bad, and Charles just, through no lack of skill, just found the barriers. But the logic was there in some way for Ferrari, because as we've just seen, 19 or 18 cars then started that sprint on an intermediate tyre. So even though the conditions are still really wet to the point that we can't run the race, the intermediate tyre is going to be the race tyre, because over the course of 19 or 18 laps, the track will dry and it will become too wet for the wet tyre. So you want to learn on the intermediates on the way around to the grid, and on top of that, Ferrari, when they released Charles, the conditions weren't as abhorrent as 30 seconds later when the deluge came. So that's the logic for Ferrari, sending their car on intermediates. They sent Lewis out on inters as well. He managed to make it round. It's up to the driver then to feel the lack of grip and go as slow as possible and get it back. But for Charles there, as the first or one of the first drivers round, he it's a balance of trying to push and learn something on that tyre and then just getting it round and saving yourself for the race, and he's obviously not quite found that one.
You're listening to Jolyon Palmer, who was racing in Formula 1 in 2016 and 2017. I'm Alex Jakes. Wherever you are watching this one, wonderful to have your company. We are going to get the second sprint race of the season underway as quickly as we can. Procedures going on down in the pit lane. They're lined up in order. A reminder for you, we saw that dramatic moment with Charles Leclerc. He is out. We saw Max Verstappen locking up and going deep at turn 17. He was able to retake his place in the queue because we had not started the race. The 1 hour clock did not start ticking. You're looking at the Hard Rock Stadium. It is the home of the Miami Dolphins, and it provides our site. And it's a great paddock, isn't it? It's a fantastic place for the teams to work on the pitch of what is normally an NFL team, and providing us with a fantastic paddock at this racetrack. We're looking down into the pit lane, and race control ticking through the sectors. The track sweeper out there at the moment, but we're still waiting, just like Fernando Alonso is down in the pit lane.
I'm hoping that it's not going to be too much longer. It is warm, as we heard from Ruth. The temperature is actually high, the track temperature as well. You can see the drivers actually trying to cool themselves down. It's not like a soggy Spa day where getting tyre temperature into your intermediates is a big issue. It's very different. It was just an intense downpour, and now the track is drying and the sweepers are out, so it's really going to be it's certainly not full wet territory anymore. I think Sainz will revert that decision and go for an intermediate when we get going. It was just the visibility that was too shoddy to get started. And with the high speeds we got around here, 210 miles per hour on the long straight, barriers either side of the circuit, obviously safety is paramount, and visibility is the absolute crux of that. If you can't see where you're going, it's just pot luck what you're driving into.
Ruth is going to join us once again now. Ruth, give us the strategist's point of view at this stage as we get the message that we're going to begin at 12:25 local time, Ruth.
Well, the strategist needs to shut up and tell you to fit the tyres, because you've only got 2 or 3 minutes to make the decision before we have to have the tyres fitted at the 5-minute signal. For me, it's looking more like an inter-track right now.
Thank you, Ruth. You're looking at Marco Antonelli with a bit of nervous laughter at this moment. The father and son combination that have found their way from the junior categories all the way from go-karting up the ladder to pole position for a sprint race as Carlos Sainz looks at what the surface holds, and I imagine changes his tyres.
I like that. I like the old-fashioned go and have a look at the track, and then they've not driven on it now for 10 minutes. And has it cleared in this temperature? Carlos was the driver that was on the wet tyre. Surely he has to revert now to inter. It's tempting to gamble it if you're a faster car out of position. He was disappointed with his qualifying yesterday. He starts 15th, which immediately becomes 14th with no Charles Leclerc. You think, how am I going to come through in 18 laps? Gamble right, and I can do something heroic, but I think the gamble has sort of gone away now with this added delay.
Looking at race control, taking the decisions. Safety paramount for Formula 1, and that is the key concern for all those working in race control. There's a lot of people who put the work in. Rui Marquez is the race director, a position that he assumed last year. And Rose was meant to be waving the checkered flag. So a big role to perform. And we've knocked 3 minutes off the clock. We're going to delay it by 3 further minutes. It's 12:28. So the sprint was due, so the message was sprint to start, but they've reset basically because that wasn't the full 10-minute warning. So they've reset it. It's going to be 12:28 local time, and if you are watching this on catch-up, you can skip ahead 10 minutes because that's when we'll be back underway. You are watching F1 TV live around the world. This is Miami Gardens in Florida. Our first ever wet race is under 10 minutes away, and we are fascinated to see from any vantage point, apparently even the spiral staircase up to the top tier at the Hard Rock Stadium, who can triumph. And it is a stacked grid at the front. We've got Kimi Antonelli trying to be the second youngest winner in Formula One history. We've got the championship leader in second. That's Oscar Piastri. We've got the winner of the Grand Prix here last year. That's Lando Norris in third. And the reigning world champion and wet weather master, Max Verstappen, going from fourth position. George Russell, the lead Mercedes, on the grid in every single event, whether it be sprint or Grand Prix. Until yesterday, he's always been in the top 5, but this is a day where he will be desperate for a good start to try and get on terms with his teammate.
But you know what? I'm looking through the grid, and I'm just seeing everyone that's good in the wet. The depth of talent in the field now is so high. We had Lawrence Barretto speaking to Alex Albon before this, and saying he's a great driver in the wet. He is. He starts 8th, just behind Lewis Hamilton. I don't think I need to say too much about Lewis in the wet as well. But then you've got George Russell, who's extremely fast in wet conditions. Think back to Spa, where he put the Williams on the front row, or Brazil last year, where he led before the red flag. Max starts 4th. Don't need to say any more about how good Max is in these sort of conditions. Lando Norris is very fast in the wet, as is Oscar Piastri, the two McLarens. And then we've got Kimi Antonelli absorbing this pressure now and the delay. I wonder what's going on in his mind to try and keep the focus as an 18-year-old on his first ever pole. But we know from his junior formula, he was majestic in the wet last year in Formula 2. He was brilliant in Melbourne when a lot of the other rookies were running into trouble. In fact, all the other rookies were. Antonelli had a cracking drive. So, yeah, there's no one that we're expecting to fall back in this one. It's a stacked field.
Yeah, Silverstone in wet conditions last year in Formula 2. Andrea Kimi Antonelli was pulling a second a lap on a very talented field that also featured Oliver Behrman, that also featured Gabriel Bortoleto and Isaac Hadjar. We had 4 grads from F2 to F1 in 2025. Also, looking back in Kimi Antonelli's junior career, there was a race at Zandvoort where he just powered through. It's those sort of drives, those defining days, where you grab the attention of those in Formula One. Max Verstappen had one at the Norris Ring in Germany years ago, and that was the race where Helmut Marko was like, we need to get this guy in Formula One quickly. Antonelli, mighty in the dry yesterday, has proven prowess in the wet.
It's natural talent. It's feeling the grip underneath you, which is basically the makeup of a Formula One driver. It's what makes a racing driver fast. It's how you feel the grip and then compute how you're going to get the most out of it. But that is why you look through the history books and see Verstappen and Hamilton, great drivers in the wet. Ed Senna, famously majestic in the wet, as was Michael Schumacher. The legends have all been wet weather masters. And it's why you can see these guys from a young age. When they do wonderful things in treacherous conditions, you know they have the talent. Then there's other things. Do they have the mentality, the work ethic, the intelligence and everything else to go with it? And if they do, they become a pretty well-rounded package. And that's what Mercedes are certainly hoping that young Kimi Antonelli will have. And this is going to be really the first big test for him, isn't it? He's come in with low pressure until now. I mean, there's pressure in Formula One, but lower expectations. You know, he's so young, coming in alongside George Russell, who's meant to be leading this team and has done a great job leading this team so far. But now Kimi's given himself a shot. Now there's something to lose for him.
A driver last year who was competing in Formula 2, but was also conducting an extensive testing program at circuits around Europe, and then moving on to the Middle East as well at Yas Marina. They ran him as much as they could in the old car, as per the rule book, working to get him prepared for this debut, and it is only his 8th Formula One race. You are looking at the pole sitter, an extraordinary story already at 18 years of age, but an extraordinary responsibility. We heard on the radio from him that he couldn't see and he was behind the safety car. So what it must have been like for those at the very back of the field. The wall of spray meant that we had to chuck in a delay here. We will venture out of the pit lane in coming up to 5 minutes time.
Yeah, and when the leader thinks that the visibility is tough, then believe you me, further back, it is just as frustrating as this is to wait. It's just not raceable conditions. And usually you get some hero further back in the field that will be on the radio saying, yeah, this is good, let's go for it, let's do it. There wasn't today. Even the more experienced heads or the the likes of Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso in the mid-pack, they didn't fancy it in that condition before. I have to say, this is not looking that wet at all.
It really isn't. Let's get a perspective of what the conditions were like about half an hour ago. This is Charles Leclerc, who's just been to the media pen, talking about the conditions.
There could be many reasons, but at the end of the day, I'm the one behind the wheel. So, I mean, it's a mistake and a big one, because obviously on a lap to the grid, that's never what you want. I was completely out of control in the back straight. I wasn't even flat out, so I wasn't trying to push in the straights, but there was a lot of aquaplaning, and the car was just not responding to any things I was doing anymore, and it was the wall. But yeah, it doesn't justify what I've done. I'm pretty confident. I couldn't really see the amount of damage there was. It was quite a big hit, because in this particular place of the straight, it's only a hard wall, so the hit was quite hard. We'll see.
Charles Leclerc in the media pen a few moments ago, confident that he will be in Grand Prix qualifying later on, but audibly frustrated that he's not part of the sprint race.
Yeah, and he takes the blame on himself. He often does. I mean, it's just such difficult conditions to go around there, and the balancing act of learning something and keeping it on the track is a difficult one. And the rain was just intensifying tremendously at that point. So, it's just such tough conditions, which we don't have now.
So there's no more rain expected currently.
My finish on slicks.
Honestly, I was thinking that. We're not far from a slick tyre crossover with this heat. By the time we get these drivers back out on circuit, it's a sprint race. There's been delayed, and we might even, in 18 laps, have someone wanting a shot at slicks, and then you could be a hero once again.
Okay, I'm hearing that Yuki Tsunoda will take the start from the grid, so they've decided to change what they were going to do. We haven't started the race yet, so hearing a change of plan for Yuki Tsunoda, who was due to start the race from the pit lane, will now start from the grid. We'll see if that plays out as they have discussed on the radio. We've gone from Lewis Hamilton to Isaac Hadjar, two-time point scorer in Formula 1 2025, and he has had a season's best of putting it 7th on the grid. He's due to line up in 9th in the queue. That will become 8th as soon as we get going. The drivers have to be aware of their grid boxes if we get a standing start, and all of the teams will be looking at how quickly this circuit is going to dry out. We will still have those conditions, there will still be a lot of spray evacuated from the surface. Let's check in with Laura and Chris now.
Very murky conditions above, aren't they? I was just saying, though, that there is a real humidity and heat here. It is looking like this side, certainly, of the paddock is just drying out. But Chris, we were excited for this sprint race with the prospect of an 18-year-old rookie on pole as the youngest ever. And now the rain has just added another bit of spice into the pot.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will be maybe frustrated waiting, but I think this is the right thing. It's giving us the best chance of having a full race. We could have gone round and round and round behind the safety car. Instead, they've gone, let's wait, let's let it dry out to a point that the spray won't be so bad, and then let's let them go racing. So, yes, we're waiting a little bit, but it's so we can have a proper race, and I'm really excited for it when we get it, because I think Joleon's right. I think there'll be a crossover to dries here.
I love a crossover. The jeopardy of when to pull the trigger from the pit. Well, the sun is just peeking out behind us. I think that might be a slither of blue sky. Back to you guys for this one.
Thank you, Laura. Let's try this again. We have waited for the resumption, and the field of mechanics and engineers has cleared. The tyre blankets have been removed, and the intermediate shod cars will make their way out onto the circuit for a couple of laps as per the plan from race control. They've communicated they're expecting a couple of laps behind the safety car, and in these conditions they will then take the decision in the next couple of minutes whether we will get a rolling start or a standing start as the track continues to dry, and we'll assess what the spray is like. It's looking a lot better as we make our way through the opening corners of the lap.
Much better, isn't it? The track is wispy spray now. It's wispy. I think this is certainly going to be it could be a strategy race. 18 laps, 2 more behind the safety car here, And then with the temperature, there's nothing that dries up a circuit like Formula One cars circulating, literally just sucking the moisture off the ground as they come through. That's what's being thrown up into the air. And there is still spray. You can see it on the cars as they build up the speed there. The McLaren weaving, trying to make sure the temperatures are still good on the tyres when they get going. But it's much more raceable. This will be a race start in a couple of laps.
See Andrea Stella, the team principal of the Formula One champion team. That is McLaren, starting this one second and third. There are 10 points between Oscar Piastri in the lead of the Drivers' Championship and Lando Norris in second. Max Verstappen only 12 points back. There are 8 points available for the win. And if Kimi Antonelli can finish where he starts, they'll be going to him. But what does this feel like, Jolyon? You've worked basically your entire life to get to this point. And you know that you've had to go through the motions, you've had to wait, you've had to restart the starting procedure, but the conditions suit your talent.
Well, I think in a way, this has gone into a tougher conditions for Antonelli, who's out front. What he would have wanted is just put on some inters, drive around 19 laps with the best visibility out there, and the inters will work, and that'll be fine.
How conditions?
Reasonable now, yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Even if we don't get to a slick tyre crossover, looking after these inters is now going to become a massive issue. And now you're talking about trying to save the tyres, trying to keep them cool, trying to go offline when the track's drying, and make sure that they're good for the duration. Because if these tyres fall away, you could be seconds per lap slower, and you'll be gobbled up. So in a way, it's sort of perverse for Antonelli now, but it's become harder, this Grand Prix, and it probably suits those further back that have got the experience and the nous to know when to push and when to save the tyres. And then there's still the element of, will there be slicks?
Yeah, standing water's gone quite a lot. So a couple of rivers, visibility is okay. End of the straights is still pretty bad.
So race control, and the FIA will be monitoring all of these driver messages. There's the man who will be in conversation with the World Championship leader, Tom Stallard. He's race engineer, familiar voice, and we will get a standing start. So the conditions are now appropriate for a standing start, and all those that line the main straight will get a great view of these cars launching from the line, and the heart-pounding moments begin for Kimi Antonelli, who last took a pole position in Formula Regional. That was only 18 months ago. Now he's at the front of the field in Formula One, and we've made you wait for it, but we're about to see the best drivers in the world have a standing start and launch their cars down to turn number 1, and a high-pressure braking zone awaits for Kimi Antonelli. The safety car will peel in, and finally, Jolyon, we're about to go racing.
Yeah, the good news for Antonelli is that 3 of the 19 laps have been eaten up with no racing. The bad news for us is that we're going to lose a little bit of racing action, but it's going to be good. There's a lot of pressure at stake. Antonelli has to get off the line. Getting the traction down with the amount of power these Formula One cars have got in these conditions is not easy. Getting that throttle down is all about being super, super gentle on it and feeling the grip. That's where those behind have got more experience as well, remember, in these conditions. And there's still championship positions at stake behind Antonelli as well. How much do the McLaren drivers risk it? How much do Verstappen risk it when there are solid points at play?
This is the sort of day where if you can magic a result from 4th to 1st, if you're Max Verstappen, you're absolutely in contention. Only 12 points away from the lead of the Formula One World Championship. Lando Norris is 10 points back. The leader is Oscar Piastri, but the leader on track, crawling to the line because he wants everyone else to come with him. He doesn't want to be sat on pole position, losing tyre temperature in those intermediates. It might be wet, but you still need tyre temperature in those green-walled intermediate tyres, and it's a crawl to the line in front of a raucous crowd as Antonelli takes his place at the front of the field.
Getting off the line and then finding that braking point as well in these conditions. They've only come through there once so far in these conditions. That is why we just had a couple of laps behind the safety car. Where on earth do you brake, and how do you have eyes everywhere on the mirrors, make sure no one's sending a lunge down the inside, try and find your own bit of grip as well. There's a lot to do.
It is always wonderful to watch Formula One cars in these conditions because the drivers are living on their racing instincts. We lead to the line now. The last car in position will be Yuki Tsunoda. There will be 19 on the grid. There is the Red Bull out in SQ1 yesterday, and he will form up in 19th position. Here we go then. Nervous glances from the crowd. Here come the lights. And the sprint in Miami is underway. Good and even reaction time for the front row, but Oscar Piastri's diving to the inside. The top two, side by side, and Antonelli goes off at the first turn. He loses 3 positions, and through goes Oscar Piastri to the lead. Then it's Lando Norris up to second place, and Max Verstappen is up to third. Piastri got past, he got a great launch, he got the inside line. Antonelli tried to hang on to it, and he couldn't hang on to it. He's down to 4th.
So Piastri's essentially done exactly what he did on his last race start in Jeddah, from second place, make it his own corner down the inside, and there was nothing Antonelli could do on the outside there.
He put me off.
We'll give you a replay, but at the moment we've got to bring you the pictures of the racing on the opening tour, where you're trying to find the grip, where you're trying to find your way by the 2 silver arrows from the spray down to the braking zone at turn 11. George Russell trying to reassert his dominance at this team. Antonelli saw the chances slip down to 4th position. Russell using more of the road. Is he going to risk it? It would be a huge risk if he threw one to the inside there, and he knew it, he backed out.
Yeah, he's really wanting that place on this first lap, and has a little look at the inside of 16. He's got to try and strike while the iron's hot, while his teammate and everyone else is trying to figure out the grip. But now, looks like he's got his mirrors and eyes full of Lewis Hamilton behind as well.
Hamilton finding himself in P6, then it's Albon and Alonso, the last of the point scorers. Liam Lawson got a stormer. He's up 5 places to P9 as they are circumspect round the hairpin. Can anyone go for a late lunge? There's a Williams risking it to the inside there. And let's see whether they can apply the power. I think Sainz was trying to get past Ocon, but wasn't able to do so. Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, Antonelli and Russell, your top 5.
Piastri is bolting out front. 1.7 seconds now is his race lead, and he made a big gap in that final corner where so many of the drivers were cautious. That's where Max Verstappen went off, just on that previous formation lap. So it's really slippery in the final turn, but Piastri seems to have his head down now and is building the gap.
So Lawson gaining 5 positions from where he was originally due to start. Not the only one. Lance Stroll also up 5 positions as well. So the bravery difference out there was different, and dramatically so. Hulkenberg lost 4 positions on the getaway, and Sainz was unable to clear Esteban Ocon. It is a sizable lead out front. But Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, looks like he's going to extend his advantage if it finished like this. We're on lap 4 of 18. We started the clock when the safety car left the pit lane, and so we are on lap 4 as once again Sainz tries to side his way past outside line, trying to turn it into the inside line. A man who's won in the wet before, no way by at the moment.
No, not finding the grip on the outside of that long right-hander. Sometimes just driving off the racing line and you can suddenly pick up a load of grip.
Strike very quickly.
Copy.
I think Piastri with one eye to possibly a slick tyre later on, and just warning then his race engineer, Tom Stallard, saying, just keep on your toes, we've still got to win this one, and it might come down to strategy.
Here's Sainz to the inside. This move's been coming for a whole lap, and this time the Spanish driver gets it done. The Williams man is through, but Ocon places the car nicely, gets the traction, gets the place back. It's great battling. It's only for P12, but it's great battling out there. The American team, Ocon, who joined them at the start of the year with Haas up against Williams, and these two teams also fighting in the Constructors' Championship. They're 5th and 6th, with Williams ahead of Haas coming into this weekend.
I won't turn.
Understeer for Hamilton, who's still running in 6th behind George Russell, who's just dropped away from Antonelli ahead of him. This is on board with Lewis coming out of turn 8 and accelerating now up the long straight where his teammate crashed on the way to the grid. We're going to have another look at the start. So Piastri gets the drive in this part. Now he's halfway alongside Antonelli. He's right alongside. He's even ahead coming into the corner. And I mean, that's not an argument that Antonelli can have there. a bit like Verstappen in Jeddah. Piastri was there, he had the corner, and really Kimi, with a bit more experience, probably would have backed out and accepted that the place was never going to be held on the outside.
Even off the line, then watch the second phase of the start. Piastri getting a much better second phase and getting to the apex first.
Yeah, he's got it done, and once again he's kept it really well on the track. It's a fantastic move actually from Oscar to get the launch, the drive in the second phase, and then stop the car perfectly and take the race lead.
This is what Oliver Behrman saw, or perhaps didn't see, into the first turn of the race. Unlucky with the conditions and the visibility. Lucky not to rip the front wing off.
And then have a little dangle of the nose in sights at turn 2 as well. So really, really going brave in the first couple of corners, Behrman.
Race control have noted the incident between Antonelli and Piastri, only noted at this stage. Jolien told you this was going to happen earlier on. We're seeing cars peel from the racing line. They're trying to keep their intermediates cool. They're trying not to wear away the rubber.
Yeah, and there could be seconds worth of difference. Normally in equal conditions, drivers are fighting for tenths. They're fighting for hundredths in qualifying. But if the tyres go away, you can just be a complete sitting duck. And that's why they've got to be careful and not chew through these intermediate tyres. That's why the full wet was never going to be an option, really. Probably even on the first stint, why only Sainz went for it. But now it's about, will there be a slick tyre crossover?
No further investigation required after a review of turn 1. The stewards race control agreeing with Jolien.
It's basically Kimi there just exclaiming to his team. There was never going to be anything there with the stewards. I'm sure he'll have watched back the start of the last race and seen exactly how that unfolded with Max and the 5-second penalty that came. Now, I wondered here, Verstappen is noted for out of position. He was so aggressive on his grid box. We were on board with him seconds before the start. I think he might have gone over the front of his grid box. We will hopefully get another replay of it in a conclusive angle, but that is the Lando Norris issue from Bahrain, isn't it? And it looked really marginal. He's always pushing it, but obviously the stewards now are, well, it's been noted, so they could be having a look at it soon.
You were watching a replay a few moments ago of pass and repass with Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz. We're going to get more of the same now. This is our battle on track, the closest one at the moment. We're on lap 7 of 18, the second sprint race of the season. The gap is 1.9 seconds between the top 2 out front. Max Verstappen has been noted for potentially being out of position. You must have a part of the tyre in contact with your white line on the grid box. Otherwise, it is a 5-second penalty, and it would be a costly one. Would drop Verstappen down, and no further investigation. So they're doing things by the book, but we don't need an investigation into turn 1, and we don't need an investigation into Max Verstappen at the start, and here's why.
Yeah, well, we can have a look at it then. We'll see how close this was. So he's going right up to the white line. He always maximises what he can do, but there, it was when we saw that angle, and you could see the front of the white line. I wondered if he had gone in front of it, but the stewards have had a look, and they don't think he did. So that's in the clear for Max.
Wide moment for Kimi.
Because so much can go right and so much can go so wrong, and but I always get excited. So short run to turn 1 here. We got two drivers and 2 cars in a great position with good race pace, so it might be go for the gap if we see one. If not, let's be patient and let the race come to us.
There's one car ahead of you though that's pretty feisty sometimes off the line. What's Lando got to do to take it to Max into turn 1?
If he's got a gap, he's got to go for it. But you got to be sensible too. I think he's got a good race car underneath him, so I don't think it's you got to do it in turn 1 or that's your only chance. I think we'll be strong today.
Are you relying though on it staying dry to be really, really strong? Because that's where we see your degradation come through as a strength, but if it's wet, all bets are off.
Yeah, anytime it's wet, that adds some unknown to it, which can work for you or against you. Typically when you're further back, you want it to be wet. When you're further up front, you usually don't want it to be, but we're ready for any condition.
And you've got Antonelli, of course, starting alongside Oscar Piastri once again. What do you think he'll have learned from that sprint race? And what we're seeing from Oscar at the moment is a real aggression, but also a capacity to just take a corner and own it.
Yeah, no, Oscar's doing a great job. When it's his corner, he just goes for it, and he's totally under control and just doesn't hesitate. And I got to say, Kimi's been very impressive, not just from a speed point of view, but a maturity. You know, normally a driver that young, that inexperienced, being up at the front so quickly, historically, you've seen some youthfulness come out. And you got to say, he's driving with a lot of experience, so I think he's going to be smart in this race.
Where's the main threat then today, Zach?
It's got to be Max. But I also think both Mercedes, they've been fast all weekend.
And potentially skywards, the rain.
And then things that are out of our control. We've run 50 million simulations coming into the weekend, but there's a chance that we didn't run one that we're about ready to see.
Thank you so much, Zach. Best of luck. As ever, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Let's hear from Ollie Behrman.
Ollie, I said this to you yesterday, you've become a bit of a specialist of fighting through the field. I know you're making life hard from the back of the field, but you've been out there, you've explored the conditions. What's possible?
Yeah, definitely not my goal to be starting back there, but we had a tough quali yesterday. Try and make up for it today with a good race. I think the race will be an interesting one with the weather front. So yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Pace of the car, do you think good enough to make some progress, whatever the conditions?
Definitely.
That's that, thanks.
Well, Ollie Behrman looking to make strides then from the very back of the grid and from P20 all the way to P1. Max Verstappen on pole, Christian Horner alongside us. Christian, we're looking skywards. What's your radar saying? What are you thinking?
Well, I think we're in between two quite big rain showers at the moment. You can see the darkness, you know, over there and also in that direction. So I don't know. Things pop up so quickly here. It's forecast to be dry for the next hour, but that could mean anything.
Max is looking very calm over your shoulder right now, just trying to get himself in the zone before the start of this race. But what will he be wanting? Does he want a dry race and clean air and just get on with it? Or is this car maybe going to be a bit more competitive if it is wet?
Look, I think in dry conditions it's going to be very tough. The McLaren's race pace this year has been, you know, phenomenal. So to keep them behind is going to be very tough. But, you know, starting on the pole, we got a chance to get clean air. So we desperately need to do that.
And Zach, Yuki Tsunoda starting down in P10. Are you tempted at all to split the strategies?
Yeah, you
medium,
could,
hard, medium.
You could do that. I mean, they've got two guys in the fight, so they can split. And the problem is with that, you don't know which one's going to work. And of course, safety cars here can play a big role.
Yeah, speaking of Max though, I wanted to ask, obviously he's come here now as a new father. He got asked the question after qualifying and kind of said, well, I've proven I haven't slowed down at all with this. It almost seemed to annoy him that was ever going to be a question, but do you think it will do anything that even makes him even more rounded, might make him even stronger as a competitor?
Look, I mean, he's very, very rounded guy, and when he puts that crash helmet on, you know, he's incredible, to be honest with you, and his ability to block out all of the noise. I mean, look at this, you know, this grid here, and his ability to just focus on quite incredible.
Christian, Zach was saying that Max is very much the biggest threat today, but also mentioned the Mercedes cars behind as well. How wary are you of Kimi Antonelli firstly, and the way we're seeing this rookie really come to life now, and George Russell too?
Yeah, they bought an upgrade here, and they're looking pretty quick, particularly on the straight. So yeah, they're going to be a factor in this race as well. So yeah, it's not just about the McLarens. I think, yeah, Mercedes could be you know, competitive here as well today. So, and of course, the thing we all don't know about is what is the weather going to do.
Yeah, you're all competing against the skies. Thank you very much, Christian.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Okay, let's hear then from Gabriel Bortoletto, who's with Lawrence.
Gabby, great starting spot today. You're the fringes of your first points in Formula One. What can you do? Go on, give me something.
Big sand, try to make a good start, overtake some cars, make a clean race, and try to score a couple of points.
Best of luck today.
He makes it sound so simple. Overtake a few cars, score some points in Miami. Why not? But look skywards, Gabriel Bortoletto, because it does look dark, but we are dancing around two big rain cells. We may have missed them, we may not. Up there, though, in the sky, is Tiesto. Of course he is, DJing on the start gantry, because this is the Miami Grand Prix. All right, Chris, then, go on.
What a view that must be.
I know,
up there, looking down on this grid from up there. I once got to do that marshalling photographers at Silverstone, and it was insane. He must be loving it up there.
All right, your thoughts on the start then, based on what, of course, we saw yesterday?
Yeah, we're in the right place. It's these two cars. It's Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. And I feel like, you know, there's a bit of history from last season, so it's going to mean a lot if Lando can get ahead of Max. Max knows how to deal with Lando in general. Will it be different this time? I'm not too sure. But I also love that we have a repeat behind of Kimi Antonelli and Oscar Piastri to see if there's anything different between those two and if Antonelli has learned from what happened in that sprint. But I'm actually glad it's dry for the start. I think we're going to see some elbows out.
Yeah, and I think it would be nice to see, yeah, as you say, just a pure start, driver skill only, and not having the rain involved. We just see smoke pouring out here from the gantry. The Mercedes, of course, of George Russell, just behind this kind of like melee at the front of elbows out down to turn one. Then the Williams cars as well. They'll be looking over their shoulder.
They will, but also George will be, because if he gets overtaken by one of those Williams cars at the start, that could really hurt his race. That could be very damaging for his race pace. But I reckon he'll be hoping to see a little bit of carnage ahead of him, and he'll be trying to pick his way through. So he might even hold back slightly and then be looking to, okay, can I make some positions on the exit of turn one when everyone else are fighting each other? So there's so many different dynamics that drivers are thinking about and doing it in split seconds.
There are so many different narratives woven into this 6th round of F1. And I want to hear your prediction, please, for the winner of today's Miami Grand Prix. Go on, even a podium.
I'm going to go for the winner being Max Verstappen. Podium, I'm going to go with Lando Norris and then Kimi Antonelli. Stay top 3 as they are.
Kimi Antonelli to claim his first podium. I like it. Bold stuff. We'll see. Max Verstappen, pole sitter. The pole sitter has never, ever won here at the Miami Grand Prix before. On the week in which he's become a father, can Max Verstappen change that rule? Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri will have something to say about it. And keep your eye on the weather radar. This is the Miami Grand Prix.
One simple moment can change the game. For Norris, the dream came true. For McLaren, a full year out front, leading the pack. 12 months on, we return to the International Autodrome with the hunter turned hunted. It's still Papaya to beat, but 5 races in, it's Oscar leading. Walking in his mentor's shoes, looking to go one step beyond. And so to the arena. It's tight. Oh, he was nearly hit by his teammate. It's committed. And the run is relentless in the 305. As rookies look to keep their strong starts going. And Titans carry the cheers from the crowd as they search for answers. How you doing, Miami? Welcome back to 2025, where the form book is optional and the driver defines the limit. Come on. The Miami Grand Prix starts now. It's race day in America. The Formula One World Championship returns to Miami. This is round 6 in 2025, and our grid has been draped in celebrity. It is now time for the main event. This is Grand Prix Sunday in the USA. Here's the circuit for the Miami Grand Prix. 57 laps, the track distance is 5.4 kilometers, 3.3 miles, and the race lap record belongs to Max Verstappen, as does the track lap record after his lap to take his third pole position of the year. 19 turns, and no one has ever won from pole around this circuit. It's the soft, the medium, and the hard tyres, that bit you know, but it is the C5, the C4, and the C3, the crucial differences in the compounds for this event. We're looking at the Hard Rock Stadium and the International Autodrome that for the fourth time in Formula One history surrounds the venue. We will have 19 on the grid, 1 in the pit lane, and this is the order for the 6th Grand Prix of the year. Pierre Gasly is elected to start in the pit lane, having gone the wrong way. We're set up, he'd gone out in Q1 anyway. Oliver Behrman is in 19th, and then it is Lance Stroll in 18th, next to Fernando Alonso. Aston Martin struggling around this circuit. Hulkenberg is in 16th after an error at turn 17. Liam Lawson had an issue with recharging the battery. Jack Doohan is the lead Alpine on the grid for the first time this season. Gabriel Bortoleto, the lead Sauber, for the first time since Melbourne. Lewis Hamilton's worst starting position for Ferrari is P12. Isaac Hadjar began life in Formula One with a P11 in qualifying. He's done the same thing again. Yuki Tsunoda made Q3. Best result of the season in qualifying for Esteban Ocon. And then it is Charles Leclerc with his worst start of the year, next to Alex Albon, who's behind his teammate for the third race in a row. And second race in a row, Carlos Sainz has started from P6. George Russell always in the top 5, but behind his teammate for the first time on a Grand Prix grid. Oscar Piastri is outside the top 3 for the first time this year. Best ever result in F1 qualifying for the Grand Prix format for Kimi Antonelli. And our front row, Lando Norris versus Max Verstappen. We've heard that one before. They are reunited on the front row for the first time since Japan, and it is a third pole of the season for Max Verstappen, a 43rd pole in his Formula One career. We are ready, and the expectations are high. The track temperature is 40 degrees. There is rain in the air, but it isn't heading to the circuit at the moment. The air temperature is 26 degrees. And we are looking forward to this one. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me in the commentary box is Jolyon Palmer.
Very excited for this. We've had some stars already this weekend. This man is one of them. The sprint pole that Kimi Antonelli had. He was leading the way this time yesterday, but only third today. I mean, it's still a great result from him, but he'll look at Lando and Max on the front row. And they've also been stars so far. Verstappen's lap for pole was brilliant. The attacking nature of it, getting a third pole incredibly out of 6 races in what is pretty much understood to be not the fastest car. It's a great effort, but he's got Lando, who's on a bit of a high after winning the sprint yesterday as well, alongside him. It's been a very fascinating weekend, a very enjoyable weekend of racing, and I think the best is yet to come.
Oscar Piastri, starting P4 on the grid, is the championship leader. He has 106 points after yesterday's sprint race, and that is the trophy they are all fighting for. It's inspired by the stadium that we race around last year in the clutches of Lando Norris as he won his maiden Grand Prix in Formula One. Lando Norris is second in the drivers' standings, and then it is Max Verstappen in third, missing out on points in the sprint. You're looking at the 19 cars on the grid. It is nearly the magical moment for the clock to strike 4 p.m. local time, and we will illuminate the gantry. Green light on that gantry, and away we go with Max Verstappen leading the field away for the third time this season, and everyone following off the line. You can see it's a very, very short run down to turn 1. And it's not going to be an easy chance to get by as we check in with the strategy and the tyres for the drivers.
I'm seeing a lot of medium tyres out there, but a big one is George Russell has gone for the hard tyre, starting from 5th position. I wondered if Piastri might go for that in the second of the McLarens, but he's obviously gone safe there and conservative, as McLaren often do on the strategy. But Russell is going to do the different thing then. He's going to go long and try and attack later on for a podium, or better, because remember, the chance of a safety car, it can define the race, as it did yesterday, as it did last year. And as we jumped on board with Verstappen there, warming up those medium tyres, putting a lot of energy into those mediums as well, getting the tyre temps up. There are still splashes of water on the track. It's a green track. Once again, the rubber's been washed away. It's going to be slippery for the drivers on this opening lap.
You're looking at Kimi Antonelli. P3 on the grid is his Grand Prix qualifying best. Remember, the teams were able to tweak the cars after the intense sprint race that we had yesterday, and all of that running in the simulator, all of the data that they poured over allowed him to get close. He wasn't too far away at all. He was 0.03 of a second away from climbing to the front row, and he was less than 1/10 of a second away from pole position. He is 18 years of age. This is just Grand Prix number 6 for him.
It's been sensational this weekend. Antonelli was really unlucky actually in the sprint, having lost the places at the start. I mean, that was a little bit on the driver's side, getting away from the line, but having that collision with Verstappen in the pits cost him more. Look at the way all the drivers are snaking down this back straight, still desperate to fire up the front tyres particularly. It's a short run to the first corner coming up. The inside line, I think, might be particularly slippery, and we often see lockups and potential collisions from that position, but everyone is wary of front locking, and it's a tight right-hander that greets them there. There is overtaking opportunities at turn 1.
So a superb attendance of 275,000 people through the gates, and the Miami Grand Prix of 2025 is being led to the line by Max Verstappen. He's won this race before, he's looking to do so again. No one's ever won it from pole position. He's won it from P9 before in the past, and he has the same tyres on the car as the man who starts 8 meters behind him, lining up into position. That's Lando Norris. The Williams drivers of Sainz and Albon will get a better launch off the line with the mediums baked in than George Russell on the hard, and that could be a pinch point heading into the first 2 turns.
Russell's just got to hold ahead of the Williams, and then his strategy will play out in the longer run. See Verstappen with some really meaty burnouts as well, making sure those rear tyres are prepped, and now he has the weight whilst the rest of the grid forms up.
So the track temperature is at 39 degrees. The air temperature is at 26. This is the man on pole position number 43 in his Formula One career. Last car on the grid is Oliver Behrman. Pierre Gasly is in the pit lane. And here we go. Green flag at the back means it's time to look to the lights in Miami. And the Miami Grand Prix is underway. A good reaction time for the top 3. It's Max Verstappen holding the lead, but he locks up, and Lando Norris is going to have the chance to get on the power. The 2 rivals are side by side, and Verstappen through a defensive shape, roaring around the outside. To second place is Kimi Antonelli, and he'll be challenging for the lead because Verstappen had to go super defensive, but Verstappen got his elbows out and maintains P1.
Elbows out indeed. I said the grip level would be low, and I think everyone's just found that in the opening corners.
Lando Norris down to 6th position, tried to go for the lead, lost out. Verstappen, Antonelli and Piastri, then Russell and Albon, your top 5.
Yeah, Verstappen only knows ruthless defence, and that's exactly what he put on Norris once again, sweeping through turn 2 there. We'll have to wait and get a replay. I don't know if Lando had done enough to warrant the space, and it's obviously worked out beautifully for Antonelli to come through.
Jack Doohan's got a puncher. Disappointment for the lead Alpine on the grid for the first time. Antonelli was shaping out of the slipstream of Max Verstappen. In the end, he was defending for Oscar Piastri, who's the lead McLaren in the race. He is in 3rd, Russell is in 4th, then it's Albon, and down 4 places in 6th position. Bring us that team radio from Lando Norris.
Yeah, it's an absolute disaster for Norris, who suddenly would have just seen that chance to get into the race lead, as Piastri has a bit of a slipstream here on Kimi Antonelli, applying the pressure for second place. This is a big move.
So, this is an opportunity with the cars fat with fuel for Piastri to put the pressure on the Italian rookie, who is just 1 lap into his 6th Grand Prix in Formula One. Wide moment for Oliver Behrman as he makes his way through the turn. His teammate is running in 10th position, again going defensive and locking up. These 2 already have history at turn 1. Did Antonelli make the corner? He did, but he's off the racing line. He's massively on the defensive.
Yeah, there's no grip at turn 1 particularly, especially when you do what Antonelli did and sweep to the inside, picking up maybe a bit of residual moisture on the tyres, then try and hit the brakes to ward off the championship leader, and he must have done really well to keep that on the track and hold the inside for turn 2. There's everyone, the best drivers in the world here, scrabbling around for grip on slick tyres and somehow keeping it clean.
These cars are heavy right now. They are the heaviest they'll be for the entire Grand Prix. The yellow flag is out on lap 2 of 57. The virtual safety car is out on lap 2 of 57. We'll take a breather.
Yeah, he forced me off. What am I going to do? Just drive it to the wall or something? Like, I was completely alongside.
We believe that Doohan and Lawson made contact. They were starting in a similar position, 14th and 15th on the grid, and Jack Doohan, after a great qualifying session, first time he'd out-qualified Pierre Gasly, it comes to nothing. This is the start of the Grand Prix on board with the Australian.
So perhaps not entirely keeping it clean. There is Lawson appearing on the outside, and Doohan there right over the curb. There's not much more that Jack could have done, to be honest there. Liam went round the outside and didn't leave enough space there, and Doohan can't disappear.
Okay, trackside pictures, and the virtual safety car is still deployed, so the drivers will reduce their speed and remain in formation.
So the one that we need to see is the move for the lead at turn 2. Verstappen looked like he had the lead sorted, but made the mistake, locked up the brakes at turn 1. That gave Norris a chance to come back through, and now we'll get a chance to see, was Lando ahead coming into turn 2? And was he forced off, or was he not entitled to that space? I mean, we're always talking about this now. There we go, he gets the traction, they're side by side. I think that'll be okay for Max. It's tough racing, it's really hard.
The Williams nearly wiped each other out. Sainz and Albon just trying to avoid it. The concertina effect as everyone pinched up. Let's go on board with Verstappen.
So he covers off the inside line, but that puts him on the slippy stuff. And there he has the lock-up. Now he's desperate for some traction. They're side by side. But I think that'll be okay for Verstappen. I don't think Lando was significantly ahead coming around the outside there. And he never really got to an apex point at turn 2. So I can understand the frustration for Norris, who thought he had a great opportunity here to sweep round.
That's what it looked like on board for the man who is ahead of Verstappen in the championship.
I think that one will go down as hard racing and acceptable racing. And you could see for Lando when he was off the track, the puddles then to try and get back on into the melee cost him even more.
This is on board with Liam Lawson. He's going to have the contact. You hear it, and unsurprisingly, driver spun round as reported floor damage.
Completely hit, mate. I have no idea what the Alpine was doing.
It's on Lawson for me, round the outside and just cutting up, doing that. Looked like he had a little bit of space to give as well.
We're going to go on board with Oliver Behrman, driver who is the last one on the grid. He's going to give us a great view of the moment where Doohan got the puncher, the bright pink RB car, the contact, debris all over the road, and Behrman has improved. Now, all the while that we're seeing Jack Doohan retiring from the race with that puncher, the virtual safety car is ending. Drivers have got to react to this. It can be withdrawn at any moment, and it is withdrawn right now. It's not to the start-finish line. That's just coincidental. Verstappen's reacted nicely. His lead over the line is 1.2 seconds.
And Antonelli resumes under pressure from Piastri. Tenths separating them as they hit the brakes for turn 1. We've seen how easy it is to lock up. Whilst they've been going at reduced speed, the tyre temperatures drop slightly as well, making it that little bit harder. And now Antonelli's got to lean on those tyres and build the temperature up.
I believe Lewis Hamilton and Isaac Hadjar have been scrapping. Hamilton has got himself into 11th position. We're looking at the championship leader, Oscar Piastri, trying to dispatch the lead Mercedes in the Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli, 6th place finisher in the Formula 2 Championship last year, junior champion on multiple occasions, but under pressure right now for 2nd place in the Grand Prix. And the championship leader, Oscar Piastri, roars on by and takes 2nd place. And Lando Norris is trying to do the same thing and does so. He's up to P5.
Done and dusted for McLaren then. Crucial for Piastri. He should be quicker than Antonelli in this race. The McLaren race pace may well be the best of the lot, and he needs to be in a position to attack Verstappen as we head at least towards the pits, if not before. Possible rain in 15 minutes, but we'll say what we see right now, and that is a dry race with storms around. And Piastri now 1.1 seconds away from Verstappen, and DRS is enabled, which enabled the 2 McLarens there to storm through.
Crucially, they have extended that DRS zone on the way down to turn 11 by 75 metres to try and promote the overtaking moves that you just saw from both of the leading contenders for the World Championship. Piastri ahead of Lando Norris by 9 points heading into this Grand Prix today. So Piastri getting the move done. He wasn't the only one. We told you that Lewis Hamilton had improved up to 11th position, and this is how he did it.
So this is the VSC restart. So you can overtake as soon as it goes green, and that's why Hadjar was having to go defensive and brake late into the final corner. It's not a full safety car, so you can do what you like until then, and Hamilton just putting the pressure corner after corner, and turn one then Hadjar running wide, and again that slippy corner, difficult braking zone, proving a problem.
The two Williams have swapped around the order that they started this Grand Prix, and let's see whether they'll be allowed to race. They will, and Carlos Sainz is taking the position back that he lost at the start. And that is P6 for the Spaniard. He gets past his teammate, tidy move, and we are seeing overtaking moves into turn 11 like we never have before.
Yeah, it doesn't look too hard, does it, with the extension of that zone? A nice move from Sainz, Norris and Piastri making moves already as well at that corner. That looks like the best opportunity. This is the second opportunity with a much shorter DRS zone. It only pops open there, you see, with George Russell staring down his teammate. So it's a little bit of a harder corner to pass on, even if it's a bigger braking zone in theory, and then you get another chance to do what Hamilton did and jump on the throttle and try and make a move at turn one.
Possible rain in 20 laps. It will be heavy if it hits.
Well, that's what the locals have been telling us all weekend long. The rain showers don't last for very long, but when they come down by the bucketful in this part of the world. And it rained out the F1 Academy race earlier on, and we've got some Grand Prix on our hands. Oscar Piastri has stayed at a 1.1 second gap to Max Verstappen. Antonelli coming under pressure from Russell, and you wouldn't be surprised to hear Russell on the radio sooner rather than later, because he's got Lando Norris looking very strong behind him.
This works okay for Mercedes though, building a DRS train. We saw it with Williams in Jeddah, keeping Isaac Hadjar at bay for 8th, 9th and 10th. The way that Russell can defend from Norris here by using the DRS of his teammate is good. Is he going to have a pop at his teammate? Yes, he is.
He's having a look. Every half look that you have, though, leaves you vulnerable, and we know how good the McLaren is in this part of the racetrack.
And remember, Russell is on the hard tyre. Those around him are all on the medium, so he's on a different strategy, and he wants to go much longer into this race. He doesn't want to start locking front tyres and have to carry that much further, but he also doesn't want to be held up here, because possibly, if Mercedes have got race pace, he could still be thinking about a race win if he can get ahead of his teammate.
Lando Norris is trying to change all of that. He forces a minor defensive move from Russell.
Does Verstappen have damage or a penalty?
Not yet, but they're looking at it, Oscar. They're looking at the turn 2 incident.
And I can tell you that they've looked at it and they've gone no further action for the drama at the start of the Grand Prix. And race control agrees with you, Jolyon.
Yeah, it was hard, but low grip, and I don't think Norris had done enough, and nor did the stewards there to get him back. So he's going to have to do it on track.
This could be epic! And it is a wide moment for Russell. Open the door for Lando Norris, and that is some way to take 4th position in the race.
He is a man on a mission at the moment. I haven't seen many overtakes at turn 4 before, but Lando set that one up from turn 1, got the drive through 2 and 3, and then had the inside line for turn 4, and it didn't look like Russell could do too much at that point. He has got the DRS as we're heading down towards turn 11.
See Russell away from the ideal line through 1, compromised into 2, and after what happened out front on the opening tour, Lando Norris going for any gap.
So it's actually clever from Norris that he's using energy deployment in a place where Russell will not have been expecting an overtake to be coming, and I don't think that was really a chance on paper, but the way he just deployed then the overtake button, everything from his battery, gave him that overspeed in a zone that's not a DRS zone, and he just managed to sneak up the inside of George Russell.
There's 1.2 seconds for the lead of the race. Lando Norris is making amends for the positions lost at the start of the Grand Prix. Antonelli is the next car. Tell you what, the Williams are looking absolutely unbelievable right now. They're putting the pressure. There is a tyre difference between these two cars, but this is a Williams carrying a Mercedes on merit.
And beating the Ferrari still. What year is this? 2025, race winner in the Williams here, putting pressure on the race winner in the Mercedes. They're absolutely flying this weekend. Sainz has been driving brilliantly, Albon should have had great points in the sprint yesterday as well, finished 4th, but got a hefty penalty for an infringement of the safety car. And now they're sandwiched between a Mercedes and a Ferrari. What a time to be alive for Williams fans.
I think even Williams are in disbelief at what they've seen so far. James Vowles has been talking about the collaboration of the two drivers, sharing data, trying to move the team back to the glory years that Jolyon referenced a few moments ago. You look at this shot into turn 12, where Lando Norris in the Papaya McLaren is heaping pressure on Kimi Antonelli.
McLaren are quick. They're really quick right now. You can see it with the way that Norris is carving his way back towards the podium, and he's going to get a chance, you'd have thought, sooner rather than later. But look at that for the lead. Piastri nudging within a second of Verstappen as well, so we could get race on for the top spot.
The most aggressive Miami Grand Prix that we have ever seen in terms of early lap overtaking action. 0.6 of a second, the gap for the lead. And Lando Norris knows that any quick move on Kimi Antonelli would be vital. Antonelli on sprint pole earlier in the weekend, youngest driver to ever score a pole in any race format in Formula One, chasing his maiden podium today.
He's got a nice line through that final corner, Lando. A late apex allows him to just jump on the throttle a little bit sooner than the car ahead, and that's what, remember, set up the move that he put on George Russell before at that corner, turn 4. It's unorthodox.
Rain expected lap 14. Heavy. Just going to skirt the circuit at first, hitting turns 7 and 17, then should cover the whole circuit eventually.
It'll be interesting to see how everyone plays that. Think back to Sao Paulo, think back to Lando Norris and George Russell pitting and opening the door for Max Verstappen that day. That's a problem for then. A problem for now is Max Verstappen is trying to hang on to the race lead. He did so. Lando Norris, though, is improving. Another position recovered, and Lando Norris is 3rd in the race. He's still a contender in this one.
Yeah, this looks like real dominant pace at the moment from the McLarens. Piastri harrying Verstappen out front. He's almost close enough to make a move, and Norris continues his charge up through the field as well, up into 3rd place, and we'll see if he can close in on the top 2 that are nicely bunched up with rain hitting imminently.
Well, the rain might be coming in, and it's another torrid trip through turn 12 for Fernando Alonso, facing the wrong way and recovering. He's on the hard tyres and he's tumbled backwards. The man spun out of the sprint yesterday by Liam Lawson, finds himself in 18th position. You are looking at the battle for the lead between the reigning world champion and the championship leader.
So how well could Piastri stay behind Verstappen in the first sector? It's Max's best chance of keeping him at bay, using that strength of the Red Bull.
This is Fernando Alonso, and round he goes.
That's not very Fernando Alonso, is it? He's having a difficult weekend, hit by Liam Lawson at that corner yesterday in the sprint, and just looping it on his own.
So Fernando Alonso gathering it back together, and he is the last runner but one. Crucial DRS zone now as we head down to turn 11. Verstappen knows it. Piastri is gaining with every single metre. Verstappen has to go super defensive, and he'll be off the ideal line, and the McLaren is soaring away at the back of the Red Bull.
Yeah, the McLaren's good in this section as well. There'll be another DRS zone coming up shortly. Piastri very, very fast through that low-speed chicane all weekend. He stays close to Verstappen in the low speed. It's a shorter DRS zone here, but it's going to be another opportunity, I feel.
Would you like a commentary cliche? This is risk versus reward for Oscar Piastri, because he's got to try and get past Max Verstappen, because Lando Norris will be closing in all the while. Again, Verstappen goes defensive. Can Piastri try the up and under? We've seen it before through these turns. He's got more grip, he's got more speed, but he's currently not got the track position. Building up to 180 miles per hour. Verstappen and Piastri going wheel to wheel again into the first turn of a racetrack. There's no grip around there at the moment for Piastri, but Max Verstappen is driving on his mirrors, and he is snaking all over the road trying to keep the lead.
He did the fastest first sector of the race on the last lap to try and build that gap to Piastri, but it still wasn't enough to break Oscar away and not allow the overtake chance into turn 17. There were a couple of spots of rain on the camera lens there.
Piastri is closer than he has been at any stage coming out of turn 8. 9 and 10, you don't have to worry about them. They're flat to the floor. The Australian driver, the man from Melbourne, closing in on a rival for the title. Again, it's super defensive move for Max Verstappen. Again, he's trying to go all the way around the outside. He won't be given room. The door closed in his face. What a scrap for the lead.
This is brilliant defence at the moment from Verstappen. It's positioning his car exactly where he has to, but he's going to be under pressure once again on the exit of this corner, and the pressure keeps growing.
And all the time, Verstappen clings on to P1. Piastri will see Lando Norris inching closer in the mirrors. The 4-second gap to the lead is now 2.1. He is closing in to try and make it a 3-car battle for the lead in Miami.
It's not quite close enough and into turn 17. So when Verstappen doesn't have to defend, he shouldn't defend, because then you slow yourself up and you leave yourself vulnerable for the next chance.
Stay on the inside, Max, make it work for it.
Well, GP and Max have an amazing relationship. There's a lock up there for Oscar Piastri. That shows you the pressure of the defensive driving, and Norris will close in further once again. Breathing room for Verstappen out front.
Yeah, Norris has been a second a lap quicker than these two for the last 2 tours, and that is why he's now looming in the back of this shot as the top 2 come snaking through. There is the second McLaren homing in to make it a 3-car fight for the race lead. Confirmation, Lando Norris fastest lap on the last lap as well. And that moment for Piastri at turn 1 has let Verstappen off the hook on this lap.
We see it again, not much, but a wide moment, and Verstappen will get a breather. Great defensive moves under pressure. Clean racing from the pair of them, but that has delayed the fight for first place in the race somewhat.
Well, I don't think it's going to be for very long, because he's back within a second, and the pace that McLaren have, it seems like it'll be a foregone conclusion that they'll come through, but Verstappen has been driving really, really well and cleanly for the last couple of laps, positioning his car where he has to, no lockups, and frustrating Piastri. And when you're there, you're within a second, you're getting these chances, and you can't make it. It becomes more and more frustrating. You start to work harder, you start to brake later in the dirty air, and you make these small errors. But there we go. One more lap, and he's sniffing the fumes at the back of the Red Bull.
Lando Norris is 2.5 seconds away. He's 3 seconds off the lead.
It's a route to drive.
Understood.
Max Verstappen looking in the left mirror, looking in the right mirror, reporting low grip. We saw that in the early stages, trying to keep it clean, trying to hang on to the race lead, and Oscar Piastri knowing that his teammate is closing in all the while. He knows he's got a car. Can he find the gap to put a move on Max Verstappen? And you don't see it happen too often in Formula One for the lead of a Grand Prix.
The best overtaking chance that we've seen so far is into the next big braking zone at turn 11. But Max is so fast in those high-speed corners that we've just been on board for that he manages to extend the gap. Now Oscar's closing and closing and closing, but I don't think it's going to be enough. At turn 11, it would be a huge lunge if he went for it from there. But look at the entry speed the McLaren can carry. They've got really good low-speed corner speed, and that means he gets close for the next attempt.
Further back, just to keep you updated with the other cars in the points, Antonelli is still ahead of Russell. There's a 1.6 second gap there. Sainz and Albon still running line astern, keeping Charles Leclerc at bay, even though he's in that DRS train. Sonoda is in 9th position. Ocon still ahead of Lewis Hamilton, but Hamilton's got within DRS the last time. We'll go back to the battle for the lead, because we're going to go side by side again. Max Verstappen positioning the car, but how many corners can he keep this up? Again, he checks the mirrors. Again, he sees Oscar Piastri closer than he's ever been before. The world champion versus the championship leader into the first turn. It's late on the brakes for Max Verstappen. He keeps the lead for the moment, but Piastri powers by, and Oscar Piastri takes the lead.
Finally manages to make it through. Verstappen did as much as he could possibly do, but rather than trying to hang it around the outside and be forced off, Oscar saw that one coming, hammered on the anchors and let Max sail on wide and snuck through on the exit. Lovely move that was many laps in the making, and now we'll get take two with Norris in the fray.
Norris will want the decisive pass on Max Verstappen. These two close together in the opening meters of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen passed by Oscar Piastri, who will be aggressively pushing now to try and build a gap, because on the pace, the McLaren look in a different league today, despite Verstappen's heroics lap after lap. He's lost the lead, and Norris looks like he's going to get through to second any time now.
Brakes are obviously useless.
He was sending it in super late to try and hold that inside line. He was sending it in from offline as well. Not happy. And you could see the Red Bull sliding around in the low speed on those low speed right hand corners. Turn 12, 13 and 14, and now Norris will have a chance.
Lando Norris has 5 Grand Prix wins in Formula One, so does Oscar Piastri. Are they going to do battle? Norris trying to improve to make it a 1-2, stays on the outside line, also wants the first turn. Max Verstappen in the Navy Red Bull knows that he is struggling with the brakes. He's struggling to keep the mighty McLarens behind. And is it going to be a 1-2? Will it be another late braking move? Again, they're wheel to wheel. Again, there's nothing between them. And again, evasive action needs to be taken in the opening corners of the race, of the lap for Lando Norris.
So close there. It was almost a brave pass from Norris, but he didn't quite have the traction coming from almost entirely off the track on the exit of turn 1. Really close. I don't think he'd done as much as his teammate on the straight before turn 1. That's the pass that Piastri had. He was ahead coming into the first corner. Verstappen sent a Hail Mary down the inside to try and hold him back, and he was just desperate, and it wasn't enough. It was a nice clean bit of awareness there from Piastri. Norris tried to go around the outside and it wasn't there.
Norris again looking to the inside. All of the time that Norris gained to his teammate, it's disappeared. Oscar Piastri leads by 3.1 seconds.
He was not ahead.
All good.
Yeah, I think he'll get away with that one as well. But he's going to have to keep defending, because Norris is here once again. Visor cam. And we're looking at a potential move for second place. Surely coming here. DRS open. And we're charging down to the final big braking zone.
This is turn 17. Lando Norris does not want to go for the late send. He wants to wait for that turn 1 opportunity. His teammate is building a significant advantage here. If Norris wants to win 2 years in a row for the Miami Grand Prix, he needs a decisive move on his rival for the title last year, on the man he's ahead of in the championship battle. But they're both behind Oscar Piastri on the racetrack and in the points. And now Norris can see, similar to George Russell, Max Verstappen's line out of turn 1 was compromised, but he will still be the lead car into turn 4.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to pounce like he did on Russell, that move at turn 4. I don't think it's going to work on Verstappen, so he has to wait. And all that fumbling down at turns 1 and 2, it cost both of them significant race time. Piastri is checking out his personal best lap of the race, and the last lap he was 2 seconds quicker than these two, battling it out over second. If there is rain coming, it should be any moment now.
We could yet have a completely different race, but in the dry, the McLarens have some pace out there, and it's a wide moment again for Max Verstappen, who's using every single part of the racetrack to keep Lando Norris behind, and the world champion is having to take so much out of his tyres and his Red Bull. He's all over the road.
Yeah, everything is everywhere. It's all over the shop.
He's got no rear grip at all. You can see him sliding all the way through that middle sector. Norris is close and close. Is he close enough? I don't know if he is. It's going to have to be a lunge.
He's not entertaining the lunge into 17. He doesn't want to get into a pass and repass situation. He's favouring turn 1, which is coming up in a few moments' time. Again, past the huge grandstand on the main straight. Lando Norris trying to make the pass, looking for the move, and again, not close enough. And this is giving a huge opportunity to Oscar Piastri. The threat of rain, if it was forecast to arrive, it was forecast round about now. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix by a mile belongs to Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, he's really enjoying this at the moment. He's had to work. He had his own 5 laps of torment behind the Red Bull, but finally made it through. This is the moment here. And yeah, Lando wasn't ahead at the apex. If you're passing on the outside, you have to get your nose ahead at the apex, and he wasn't quite there.
We're looking at the replay, and I think we're going to get another battle live. because Lando Norris is the closest that he's ever been, and this time he's got the inside line. Lando Norris dives to the inside at turn 11, but he made the move off the road. Will Max Verstappen be complaining about that one? Lando Norris is up to second position, but did he keep all four wheels off the road? And Max Verstappen's nearly into the back of Lando Norris. Extraordinary couple of corners.
It was really, really close. We cut to it, and I'm not entirely sure if Norris did keep those inside tyres on the white line, which is what you have to do. And if he didn't, he'll probably have to give that place up again. So Verstappen stays with him. He's got a chance to come back here at the final corner.
And he will do so. He goes late on the brakes. Lando Norris saw that one coming.
He let him go. He let him go because I think he was over track limits, but he'll try and pass him again as the battle continues down to turn 1.
Right, we'll see this into turn number 1, but on the timing tower, the gap is 8 seconds to Oscar Piastri, who is checked out. He's in a different postcode right now. He's in a different zip code right now, wherever in the world you're watching this one. It's an extraordinary stint for Piastri to build a huge advantage as these two continue their titanic tussle.
Well, look in the background. Antonelli's there. Russell's there. Albon and Sainz aren't miles away from this anymore. This has been these two going at it, hammer and tongs, lap in, lap out. They lost 3 seconds on the last lap with that massive scrap down at 11 and the repass at 17. And Piastri's loving it.
He's not the only one. What a Grand Prix this is. Absolutely extraordinary. We've got more detail for you in a few moments' time. This is surely the moment for Lando Norris to take the place and improve to second position. He does so. He keeps the car on the road as he makes the pass. And now he will go chasing after his teammate. But a 4-second gap that became 3 cars in a line has grown to 8.8 seconds. Max Verstappen drops down to 3rd. It's Antonelli in 4th, Russell in 5th. And whilst we were watching that battle, Albon, who was told to hold station, went past Carlos Sainz against team orders, we believe, from the team radio chatter.
Yeah, we've not had a chance to have a look at it because of how good this fight has been. It's not quite over yet, but I sense it will be now as Norris manages to hit the brakes and find an apex at turn 17. Now, if he could just make sure he doesn't have to defend at turn 1, he should be able to get his head down and we'll see McLaren v McLaren out front. But as you say, 9 seconds is the gap.
What an amazing spectacle for Formula One in Miami. The top 3 drivers in the World Championship battling each other corner after corner, lap after lap. That was 19 laps of joy out there, and finally the pass for Norris.
He went off himself, all tried to be off the track, so got to get that position back.
So that was Norris going beyond the track limits at turn 11. He got the move done a lap later. McLaren wisely making the call, and then 1 lap further on, 3.3 miles on in the Grand Prix distance, finally Lando finds a way through.
Stunning racing. Amazing wheel-to-wheel racecraft from all of the top 3 in the end, and finally they've managed to sort themselves out in 1, 2 and 3 order. That's the pass then for Albon on Sainz.
That is Albon going by, and we currently believe that they were told not to race each other. Albon had the gap, Albon had the position, and he's got P6 in the order at the moment, and he was told to hold position, is the message in my ear. Is it raining George Russell? Oh, we've heard this one before from the Brit, who's currently in P5.
I need a breather. I need a breather. What a first 20 laps it's been, and now there's some signs of rain. We can't see it at the moment. The times are still coming in quick. Piastri's just done another fastest lap of the race, but now Norris is able to clear away from Verstappen and was 8 tenths quicker on the last lap. I think Max just had to think, I want a podium at least here. Yeah. And the more he was fighting with Lando, he was sliding around, destroying those rear tyres. He has to think logically at some point. I think these Mercedes are catching. Hey, these Williams are catching. I need to just keep my powder dry for a podium fight.
Bortoletto's come into the pits. He has come in. We've got 1 retirement from this Grand Prix. That was Jack Doohan on the opening tour. Bortoletto about to be received by his pit crew.
I have to say, sometimes I'm critical of Max's racecraft. Sometimes he pushes the rules. He did in Jeddah. That was absolutely superb. All of it. The defence, the aggression. When he couldn't keep the place, he didn't keep the place. Absolutely brilliant defence in an inferior car.
That was delirious stuff. The top 3 drivers in the world, 2 McLarens, 1 Red Bull, the top 3 in the standings, lap after lap, and whoever extended that DRS zone down to turn 11, the one you're looking at.
Getting a raise, are they?
I think they should be, because this has been a phenomenal Grand Prix of overtaking action so far in comparison to previous editions. And how wonderful to enjoy it with you all. On the microphone, I'm Alex Jakes, next to Jolyon Palmer, who is racing in Formula One for a couple of seasons, and we have seen some epic action. We've still got the threat of rain in the air. We've got Piastri, he saw that advantage disappearing all the time. He made the decisive move. We didn't think it would be 9 seconds decisive. And Verstappen, you have to applaud him thrashing the tyres, oversteer through every corner, trying to hang on to second place. Last time around, Verstappen did a 1:33.2, Antonelli did a 1:32.9, and it's a 2-second gap between Verstappen and Antonelli.
We've still got to fight on for the podium. That Piastri buffer now could be critical. How he managed to make the move through, I would say, faster than Norris. It still took Oscar plenty of laps to make that move stick. Lando had the chance at the first time and didn't quite get ahead at the apex to have the space and make the move, and that was critical. They could have been 1-2 with a 2-second gap. Instead, they're now 1-2 with a 9-second gap, and I wonder how much Lando's got in his tyres as well. He must have been drilling them trying to get the chance.
So let's see whether there's an opportunity for Lewis Hamilton to make the pass on the Haas driver Esteban Ocon. This is for the final point. So Ocon started this Grand Prix in 9th position. Yuki Tsunoda got past him. He's 3 seconds away from Charles Leclerc. Leclerc has been caught up behind the Williams battle and is unable to make an impression. Speculation before the start of the Grand Prix about whether Ferrari will be able to fight through. Albon has justified making the pass on Sainz, at least for now. That's going to be a fun debrief later on. He's 2.8 seconds ahead. This is a good opportunity for Lewis Hamilton to get by. Ocon is defending because he's absolutely got to hug that inside line. Trying the up and under. Hamilton on the hard tyre, the more durable tyre, and it will be a battle through 18 and 19. Last corner on the racetrack. Time for another overtaking opportunity. Ocon has shown us good defence in the past, and Hamilton just can't find a way past the Haas, the American team on home soil.
And the cheek of them to think they could beat Ferrari today. Ocon in 10th. Sometimes when you're racing a faster car, usually that would be a Ferrari, you think, got to think the long game. I'm worried about Hadjar potentially behind. I'm worried about trying to catch a Williams or maybe Yuki Tsunoda ahead. I'm not going to try and fight with the Ferrari. Let's think about race time. With the pace that Ferrari have got this weekend, everyone's thinking they can race them. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Great defensive shape as well from Esteban Ocon. Hamilton without the overspeed on the straight line. McLaren trimmed out a bit of downforce, which helped them get closer. Here's Lewis's better chance.
He wants that inside line. Ocon's not going to give it to him. So can he get around the outside and keep a wheel on the racetrack? We go side by side. Is there enough room? Through 12 and 11, what an overtaking spectacle we've had. And that door was always going to close. But Ocon's off the racing line. And can Hamilton finally make the move by the time that we go down the back straight?
I love it. This is just brilliant. Another epic wheel-to-wheel fight. This one's only for 10th position, and I'm sure Lewis Hamilton won't mind too much about 1 point at the end of this one, but certainly a great display of racecraft from the two of them.
And Hamilton finally gets by. The Ferrari gets past the Haas, and Hamilton is back to the points. His first Q2 exit since he joined Ferrari. He has not got the feel behind the wheel. He hasn't got the balance he wants. Ferrari, who had a front row lockout here in the first ever Miami Grand Prix, have slipped back. The team that scored more points than anyone, including McLaren, after the summer break last year, have not developed the car the right way into 2025. They're 8th and 10th, but at least Hamilton has improved back to the points. That was a 2.3 second stop, and we're looking out the order a couple of moments ago, and this was Hamilton and Ocon separated by nothing. And look at the crowd brought to their feet by these two.
Hey, this is just great racecraft once again. Hamilton given just enough space. He used it, keeping a wheel on the white line, but Ocon thought, I'll try and hang it around the outside then, and I'll have the inside for the next corner, and it kept the place.
That's Esteban Ocon's
that's a
engineer.
peak reaction as well there. The wins, well, we've all done it.
Laura Muller looking on. You'll hear her voice on the radio. Race engineer to Esteban Ocon. Ocon still in the mix in 11th position. The forecasted rain has sailed on by, and you're looking at the positions that Sainz would gain in the Drivers' Championship if he stays in that place. Would be huge for Williams to place 2 cars in the points again. 6th and 7th would be mighty for them. Charles Leclerc will have something to say about that. He's waiting 1.3 seconds back. He's not been in the DRS much, has he? It's another fastest lap of the Grand Prix for Oscar Piastri, 8.7 seconds ahead of his teammate.
It was genuinely outpaced by the Williams. They both were, Leclerc and Hamilton yesterday. I thought on race pace that we might see a little bit more from the Ferrari, but he's still biding his time at the moment, Leclerc. And he just looks like he's sliding around, also fighting for a bit of grip. The degradation is really low, and actually I question whether Norris might have started to put some temperature through his tyres. He then pumped in the fastest lap and is continuing to circulate really quickly. Him and Piastri are in a world of their own right now out front. They're a second quicker than Verstappen, who's tumbling away, and we've got a 2-class order at the moment. A battle for first and a battle for third.
You're looking at Gabriel Bortoleto giving Esteban Ocon the hurry up. One car with their tyres up to full working temperature, and the other one working super hard to try and generate the same sort of temperature and get back up to racing speed. Only for 16th and 17th at the moment. Bortoleto was brought in first of the scheduled stops.
Hadjar has undercut Ocon there as well. So there is an undercut in play. Those further ahead will be thinking about it. Alex Albon's within DRS range of George Russell. They're flying, the Williams. They're absolutely flying still.
That is Alex Albon on a medium tyre getting within DRS of a hard-shod Mercedes. That medium's meant to be falling away, but it's not.
It's not, but, you know, Russell's staying with Antonelli, who's on the medium tyre. It's not just a tyre difference, it's extraordinary pace from Williams. They've got the pace to be on the podium in this first stint in the hands of Albon. That's why, probably, he's actually justifying now making the move on Sainz. When he could pass and then build a 4-second buffer and try and take on the Mercedes ahead, that's where you say, you know what, that's why I did it in the debrief.
Dropping a trophy in the debrief would be a pretty good response to any questions from the team.
Come back with a nice tin pot and say, there's your team orders.
Albon having an incredible run, fully motivated by a proven race winner joining the team. He's spoken about that. He's spoken about trying to improve every aspect of his operations. At the start of the year, he has been referencing that Sainz has been exacting in what he's demanding from Williams. Sainz said yesterday, great performance, but they were scrappy laps operationally. We're not happy with everything this weekend. There were lost sprint points for Albon.
Possible light drops of rain for the next 2 laps in turn 17 mostly.
Battle you're looking at on the racetrack is Oliver Behrman being harried by Pierre Gasly, who started this Grand Prix from the pit.
The McLaren's pace is extraordinary. They're 1 second a lap quicker than anyone else in this race. That's why they've managed to put on the show by coming through the field that they did. Norris having slipped down to 6th and Piastri taking the lead.
Let's go to Antonelli in the pit lane. Here he is. Kimi Antonelli looking for a clean stop. Hits his marks. Team go to work. Sainz is in as well, and that's going to delay his exit. Nothing the team could do about that, and you find Carlos Sainz now hitting his marks, so he was further back on the racetrack, but it did cost Antonelli a couple of moments.
Well, Albon is right there with George Russell still. If he pits, I don't think he'll be able to overcut Antonelli with that slow stop, because Kimi's there released now onto fresh hard tyres with still a clear track ahead of him for the moment. So managing to stay ahead of the Sauber there has been critical for Mercedes to keep that track position. But yeah, they're having to put pressure here on Verstappen. They're not going to do that with the slow stop, but having to think about covering a Williams.
Williams back into play, exceeding even their expectations coming into this season, definitely coming into this Grand Prix.
So Verstappen and Red Bull are off the hook, I think, with the slow stop there from Mercedes. I imagine Max will pit this lap and just make sure he covers off Kimi, make sure there's no undercut threat. You don't want to let the Mercedes have too many laps on the fresh tyres whilst Max is still out there on an old medium. Deg's low, it's going to be a one stop, and there we go, box for Verstappen, and Red Bull getting ready.
So he'll cover off the undercut attempt, going 1 lap earlier for the fresher rubber, known in Formula 1 as the undercut, and Verstappen will hope for a clean pit stop from Red Bull.
Albon pits as well, and we'll see where he comes out in relation to Antonelli.
very nearly the same thing again, but no holding for Red Bull, unlike Antonelli, who had to wait for signs as Williams to go by. Hard tyre on the car for Alex Albon, a 2.5-second stop for Williams when it mattered. Antonelli getting past Albon, or is he? It's going to be close, but Antonelli just gets ahead, and that slow stop doesn't cost him track position.
Well, they had a shot, didn't they? They had a shot, and now Albon is on 1 lap pressure hard tyres. These will go easily to the end of the race now, 30 laps to go, and he can go hunting a Mercedes who's hunting a Red Bull for a podium in a dry race.
What a great setup that we have. An 18-year-old chasing his first podium in Formula One. Albon trying to take Williams back there in a green flag race. It's been a long time since Williams were contending at the front. Alex Albon earlier in the season leading their first lap since 2015, when it was Valtteri Bottas at the head of the British Grand Prix for the team. They, under the leadership of James Vowles, have turned a page. They've signed a proven race winner, and now we can see Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, new tyres for Verstappen, who is in 7th position. Hamilton P6 right now. Is about to change the fresher rubber, the faster speed, and now Verstappen picks his way by. Efficient moves crucial, and he will hope that he can bring these hard tyres in and attack the racetrack, and he'll hope that he'll have more pace than he did on the mediums earlier on.
Yeah, they're coming in pretty quickly, actually, the hards. It's still hot out there, 26.5 degrees air temperature as Tsunoda pits in the second Red Bull. Tidy stop from them, 2.3 seconds, very quick. The new tyres are just giving pace, and our timing screens are now lighting up in purple from those that have pitted. Antonelli, Albon and Verstappen all setting personal best sectors, race best sectors in fact.
Not ideal in terms of an exit for Yuki Tsunoda. There he is, Japanese driver in the second Red Bull in the order. We're saying that Pierre Gasly got past Oliver Behrman. And is that an engine failure? Is that a technical problem for Oliver Behrman, who is pulling off? He gets out of the way of everyone. Can he get that car to a safe place? Or are we going to have an intervention which would see everyone who hasn't pitted head either to the front of the queue or the pit lane? And it looks like a technical issue for Oliver Behrman.
So this is why you might stay out. And this is why Russell might start on a hard tyre to benefit from a safety car. There you go. It's 11 seconds time lost under safety car. It's 20 if you pit in normal times. McLaren are ready, but they have to wait until a safety car would be deployed. And I don't know if Behrman was... It looked like he was flinging it off the road straight away, but then it looked like he was trying to hobble around to a different part of the circuit.
He's on the apex of turn 8.
Virtual safety car is deployed. So it's raining as well.
Is it raining? It looks like it's raining. And there you see Oliver Behrman having pulled off. The virtual safety car does give the benefit in terms of time. In comes Lewis Hamilton.
Russell and Leclerc had both just gone past the pit lane when the VSC was deployed, so they have to wait another lap. They'll have to hope the VSC is long enough that it doesn't stop before they get a chance to dive into the pits.
So Behrman pulling over. The virtual safety car reduces the speed out there on the circuit. When cars rejoin, the order is defined by that white line. On the exit of the pit lane, Lando Norris has been called into the pits. Piastri is currently at turn 16. He's on the back straight. Still, the virtual safety car is out.
Leclerc's only on the first long straight, heading down towards turn 11. He'd benefit massively from this, as would Russell, who's coming through towards the second long straight. Battle for a podium, this, for George Russell.
George Russell in the mix for third position. The McLarens 1 and 2. Piastri, his advantage kept static by the virtual safety car. Race control electing to go for that, as it's still the virtual out there at the moment. Charles Leclerc has been called in. In comes our race leader, Oscar Piastri. McLaren will want to double stack.
You see the spots of rain coming down. This will be an easy double stack for McLaren. 12 seconds between their pair. Piastri in first, medium, new set of hards. And they'll get a nice gentle bring in under the VSC, and then the team will wait for Norris, who peels in now.
Oliver Behrman has disappeared from our driver tracker. We'll try and bring you confirmation with the trackside cameras in a few moments of the marshals recovering the car. Still, the virtual safety car is out. They are still recovering the car, and still the virtual safety car is out as a result. In comes Russell. This is crucial. He's going to benefit enormously here. You only lose 11 seconds under the virtual safety car instead of 20.
So virtual safety car is ending now. Russell's in the pits. It's a really bad stop for Mercedes, though.
Oh, they were given a golden opportunity. That was not the moment for a 4.5 second stop. And we are ending the virtual safety car any moment now as Russell comes out of the pit lane. And you can see the Red Bull is right there. Max Verstappen has been jumped by George Russell. And the timing of the virtual safety car, absolutely crucial. Russell up to P3.
And that's the benefit then. Even with a lousy pit stop, Mercedes have jumped Red Bull. And now Russell's on the medium tyre that was working pretty nicely in that first stint.
Bit of a moment heading through turns 7 and 8 for Russell as he tries to get that tyre temperature up to the maximum, up to the operating window.
Well, you would, wouldn't you, when you come out on a not fully up to temperature tyre and you see Verstappen in your mirrors for a podium fight?
My engine is failing.
Okay.
Yeah, I cannot drive like this.
Albon is right with Antonelli for 5th as well. They pitted before, of course. So that duo have lost out with this.
Let's listen in. Good night.
An old school engine failure then, isn't it, for Ollie Behrman? Sounds like Bortoletto's got some gremlins going on as well.
The British driver, the puff of smoke and the retirement.
Oh my God, I lost everything.
I think they've had a PU issue.
Let's join another battle on track then. Here we go with Antonelli and Alex Albon, the Mercedes versus the Williams. Williams having an incredible day out there. It might be about to get even better right now. Albon trying to get through. He allows Antonelli to go deep, and he takes the position away. Fantastic stuff as Sainz gets past Charles Leclerc at turn number 1 as well. Williams having a dream couple of corners.
Halcyon days for Williams. One pass on a Mercedes, one on a Ferrari, and Albon is up to 5th position.
Decisive stuff from Alexander Albon, who was told to hold station, did not fancy it. And now let's see how quick this Williams really is. He's 4.6 seconds away from Max Verstappen. And I know that sounds daft, but the Williams has been genuinely quick this weekend, certainly today.
It was a really clever bit of racecraft as well. Pinned Antonelli right the way to the inside as Leclerc thinks about a move back.
He's diving to the inside, there's no gap, there's no chance to recover, and Sainz with a crucial move as well. Both Williams in the points, the team that sit in 5th position in the Constructors' Championship.
Well, Leclerc will be frustrated with that because he's sat behind Sainz for the whole first stint, and then he's been done a kipper there. The old bluff move, dummy to the outside, send it to the inside, lovely stuff from Carlos Sainz. And he has put a beautiful pass on his former teammate.
Albon hanging it to the outside, letting Antonelli go to the low grip inside line. Seconds later, Sainz tries the opposite approach and goes through.
Oh, it's lovely stuff. I mean, this was brilliant as well from Alex Albon. So he gets Antonelli right to the inside line, puts him on the dirtier part of the track. Antonelli then sails in, locks up, and Albon has the confidence to brake late, but get to that apex and punch out of the corner and take the position.
Wow. Albon in 5th, getting past Antonelli, Sainz in 7th, and Bortoletto being told to bring the car in. We'll see what sort of performance we get for the battle for the podium. Max Verstappen is 2.4 seconds away from George Russell. Russell, who finds himself on the medium, Verstappen on the hard, the same tyre as Alex Albon. Antonelli on that hard tyre as well, and so is Carlos Sainz. The only driver in the top 5 of the grid to try the alternative strategy is the one who benefited from the timing of the virtual safety car. That's George Russell, and George Russell is aiming for his 4th Grand Prix podium of the year in the opening 6 races.
Hamilton benefited nicely as well, and that's why he's now riding behind his teammate, who didn't take the full game of pitting under VSC. The VSC ended before Leclerc managed to get out of the pit lane, so he probably took just a little bit of it, which gave him the track position over Sainz, but he immediately lost it with that great move from Carlos. That is a penalty coming, 5-second penalty for Yuki Tsunoda. classic not stopping for the pit lane speed limit line. You know it's a panic when you're locked up, smoking it in.
Disappointment for Yuki Tsunoda, who has 1 point scoring finish in the Grand Prix format. Virtual safety car is out again. And everyone will reduce their pace.
Bortoletto has stopped, so we heard he had a power unit issue, and there we go. Second power unit retirement in a matter of laps, really.
Pretty unusual.
Pulled off in a great spot, though.
Yeah, that is going to be easy for the marshals to recover, as they're going to wait for the signal from race control, which is why they're not instantly running to the car. Virtual safety car out for the second time today. That's Isabella Gabriel Bortoletto's partner. Gabriel Bortoletto, a champion of Formula 3, a champion last year of Formula 2 in a wonderful tussle with Isaac Hadjar that went all the way to the final race. And he has found himself into Formula 1, yet to score points so far this year. And that applies as well to Jack Doohan, Liam Lawson and Fernando Alonso coming into this Grand Prix.
Second clutch lifted, and it's a yellow.
Max Verstappen doesn't switch off for a second, looking for every single avenue to try and improve out there.
Reminds me of Qatar last year, but it was in the mirrors that time as Norris was bearing down on him. The yellow for the debris, and Lando got pinged on that occasion.
So the gallery believe that George Russell did lift. So Verstappen asking the question, and the answer will be that he did obey the yellow flags. Timing of the virtual safety car ending could be crucial here. The green flag will fly once again at Miami International Autodrome, and Carlos Sainz, who passed the Ferrari a couple of laps ago, will be under big pressure. Here comes Charles Leclerc, try to improve up to 7th position and try and go around the outside. Will he be given room? He'll have to be given room, and Hamilton will try and pick up the pieces if they get much closer. This is super tight between the Williams and the Ferrari, but the DRS belongs to Charles Leclerc, and the corner, oh, Hamilton's gonna get both of them. No, just through on Carlos Sainz. I thought we were in for a repeat of Silverstone in 2022. You all know that line. He only got past Carlos Sainz, who tumbles down to 9th position.
Oh, take a breath. It's for 7th place.
I know, and yet, what a wonderful battle we are seeing, all on the reaction time of the virtual safety car being withdrawn.
More fantastic racing here. Former teammates, respect between the two. Leclerc goes late on the brakes and is given just enough space towards the exit here to get his foot in, and then hangs it on the inside. Carlos, I don't think there was ever really a chance for him to come across and defend that inside line, and that meant Charles had that inside with the DRS, but then we know it's slippery. It's not easy to slow the car down from the inside. That gave Hamilton the big chance to do the double pass on the exit, and it wasn't quite to be, but he still managed to come past the Williams. Double for Ferrari.
Yeah, crucial, and the first good part of Ferrari's weekend. Rebecca Donaldson, Carlos Sainz's partner, watching as Williams having their first moment on the back foot, and at that point I thought Hamilton had 2 for the price of 1, just 1 on the way through the first turn of the racetrack.
Full price.
Full price.
But nonetheless,
exactly
an important
what was
move. He
advertised.
might get the second one now. He's now right in behind his teammate. The next lap on at turn 1, so they've all stayed line of stone. Remember, the Williams is a quick car. Sainz there was a little bit done, I think, by the timing of the VSC ending. They were all bunched up just at the time of a big overtaking chance. If it was a different corner there that they were unleashed, he might have had a better chance of holding on. So potentially a little bit unlucky there for Sainz. Hamilton making the absolute most of it, and he looks happier. He's on the medium tyre, so Hamilton, like Russell, started on the hard, and this medium tyre seems to be the preferable one.
I want to tell you this information while it's pertinent. The Ferraris are just going to see them head into turn 11. They remain in the same positions. Last time around, Alex Albon was 0.2 of a second quicker than Max Verstappen in a dry race in 2025.
He's 0.2 quicker than Russell as well. 21 laps to go. I don't think we're going to see the Williams charge into podium contention, but they are absolutely flying.
If you consider that a couple of years ago, go back to 2019, they were scoring 1 point all year. They have had some really tough times. The team ownership changed. and they were able to sign a proven race winner. But that Williams, with the best pace that they have had for a very, very long time, P5 would be a huge return of points for a team that has just been happy to score any of them in recent times.
They're getting rewarded for signing a really competent driver as well in Carlos Sainz. He's a race winner, as you said, and I think, yeah, they've got a good car. They clearly have a great car this weekend, particularly.
I'm just burning up my tyres behind him. Understood.
So that's Hamilton on the mediums wanting a go at those further ahead. There's 6 seconds pretty much to Antonelli up the road, and Hamilton thinks he's got a better chance than his teammate to get there, but he needs the track position. It's not been that hard to overtake, so he might be able to make the move on track as we head towards the DRS zone.
It's lap 36 of 57, with the most overtaking that we've ever seen around the Miami International Autodrome for all of the major places in the points, all the way down to the final one, currently occupied by Yuki Tsunoda, but he's got that penalty hanging over him.
Okay, so the battle for the lead, by the way, is that's in 7 seconds, and Norris has just put in the fastest lap, half a second quicker than Piastri. He has looked a bit quicker of the two McLarens so far in this race. He just lost so much time behind Verstappen. The gap went up to 9 seconds. It's now down to less than 7. Oscar's still controlling things, but we'll keep an eye on that. 20 laps to go.
The two Ferraris, line astern, Charles Leclerc in 7th place, Lewis Hamilton, who instigated the team swap in China, if you think back to the second Grand Prix of the year, and said, let Charles have a go, because I'm just not quick enough on this tyre. Basically appealing to Ferrari for that.
You know, I should just sit here, sort the whole race. I'll come back to you.
He's closer. I think he can make the move on track. He's close enough. The DRS zone is long coming into turn 11. That's where they're heading very shortly, sweeping through these fast corners. And there's a long left-hander right here in front of the marina. And then there's DRS, and Hamilton's 7/10 back. They might be able to fight this out in a nice, classical way.
Ferrari might want to put a stop to that and launch Hamilton up the order to try and have a go at Antonelli. But still, they continue to run, discussing things clearly on the radio. Plenty of fans around this circuit. You can see Charles Leclerc slightly deep into turn 11, and plenty watching. That's a great atmosphere all the way around 11 and 12. So many grandstands there.
Hamilton is clearly quicker at this point. The medium tyres are working well. Leclerc's not really making any inroads into Antonelli ahead. He's had a couple of laps to try. Is Hamilton going to be close enough for a move here at the final corner?
Hulkenberg has come into the pits, and he's just dispatched with Alonso. Liam Lawson is in the pits to retire. The driver who was spun around at the start of the Grand Prix has been carrying floor damage ever since.
Want to keep the DRS to Charles and go ahead like this. It's behind 1.5.
You guys...
And Hamilton, who knows the winning feeling in the USA so many times in his Formula One career, exasperated by the radio message that he's hearing.
Well, effectively they're saying, do the truck and trailer to defend from Sainz, who's 1.5 seconds back, and saying, we're not going to let you through. You can work your own way through. I don't think it was necessarily a whole position, was it? But certainly stay within the DRS zone, and that's to try and keep Sainz behind, but that's a bit negative, isn't it, for Ferrari? 7th and 8th, trying to hold off the guy in 9th in a Williams.
One of Formula One's very best driver pairings. They were talking up at the start of the year.
This is not good teamwork, that's all I'm going to say.
It's also their former driver they got rid of. They're trying to hold off. That is not... The logic there doesn't make any sense. The logic really would be to allow Hamilton through, I think, at this point. Leclerc's a few tenths quicker than Antonelli, but the laps are ticking down, and he's got a 5-second gap now to try and make up.
And Hamilton is going through. Charles Leclerc told to swap the positions. And Hamilton, hugely experienced, of course. This is his 362nd start in Formula One. He knows when to talk on the radio, when to leave it for the debrief. He wasn't prepared to let that one go.
Yeah, I think common sense prevails in the end, and we can now see what Hamilton can unleash on the mediums. He's clearly happy on this tyre, And the medium tyre is good. We saw it with the McLarens in the first stint. Russell's now on the medium further ahead and is keeping Verstappen at bay, not clearing out. We've still got a battle for third, but it's looking good. And Hamilton is more comfortable. That's just the fact. And you want to give a driver like Lewis a chance now to just feel the car, if nothing more, for 18 laps. Get some clear air, get some confidence, and see if he can chase down the driver that's in his former car ahead.
And he will try and do so, and if he does so, all 4 Miami Grand Prix will have finished in P6. That has been the position that Hamilton has found himself in, and that would represent a good race in the context of where Ferrari find themselves in Formula One's pecking order. At the moment being beaten by a Williams on merit, and they can't be certain that Sainz isn't going to try and provide that headache for Charles Leclerc. He's very nearly within DRS range. Out front, the lead is 6.7 seconds between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. George Russell is 30 seconds off the McLarens. You're looking at the retirement for Liam Lawson in that bright pink liveried, special Miami livery for the Racing Bulls team this weekend. And Sainz is closing in. Meanwhile, out front, this would be a huge moment for Oscar Piastri, because he would be on for his 4th Grand Prix win of the year if it stays like this, taking another 7 points out of his teammate Lando Norris. Lost one yesterday, and looking to try and finish at 7 points ahead by winning the Grand Prix today.
In China, I got out of the way when you're on a different strategy.
Understood. We swapped the cars.
Have a tea break while you're at it. Come on.
Haven't heard Lewis Hamilton like that in many a year. And he's making the point that we referenced a few moments ago. In China, he got out of the way. He expects the same back.
Yeah, it was great teamwork from Hamilton in China, and it didn't cost them a few laps and some deliberation, and that's what he's frustrated about. We will see now if he can back it up with performance on track and try and close in Antonelli and possibly Albon, who is still just 2 seconds up from Antonelli in the battle for 5th. But I can see the frustration for him. He instigated it in China. He said, look, I'm not there, let's let Charles through. This is for 7th and 8th, you know, it's not the deliberation of a race win, even a podium. 7th and 8th to try and get 6th on a miserable weekend for Ferrari. I think they possibly could have acted on that a bit quicker.
Max Verstappen has got the gap to George Russell down. It was 2.5, it's now 2.1. I remember Russell is on a tyre that will degrade quicker than the one that Verstappen is on, so we'll keep you updated on that gap.
I need Lewis to go faster. I've just got the dirt here now.
And Charles Leclerc on the radio this time.
Well, you can't keep everyone happy, can you? Lewis spending lap after lap within DRS range of Charles. Charles had the chance to stay within DRS range of Lewis. He's 1.3 seconds back, and obviously now wants Lewis to clear away from him so he can drive the car normally, with Carlos Sainz still 1.7 seconds back. Tough stuff being a race engineer sometimes.
They decided which way to go. The Ferrari team taking a couple of minutes to come to that call, but they did come to that call. A very good lap for Max Verstappen last time around. It's now 1.8 seconds, that gap having come down, and he's chipping away at George Russell's place on the podium.
Yeah, he's still there. When Verstappen's in contention, you can never rest easy. If he has half a chance to try and get back to the podium, he will absolutely go for it. He's got a decent gap back to Alex Albon, so the Williams, I'm not going to say the wheels have come off the challenge of the Williams for the podium. He still had a great race, but looks like 5th place is the best that Albon could be hoping for today, and he is still keeping Antonelli at bay. Hamilton, by the way, hasn't managed to up his pace significantly since coming past Leclerc, and the proof is that Leclerc's still 1.3 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. But I think it's a battle for 3rd that we're going to look at. Norris has nibbled away at Piastri, but he's not done enough, and the laps are ticking down.
He'll keep with it, but he'll know that he is running out of time. Driver who dropped down to 6th position at the start of the Grand Prix, fought his way through. McLaren became Formula One's form team at this race 1 year ago, when Lando Norris got his maiden win in Formula One, and the timing of the safety car heading his way. And then he added 3 more wins last year, won the opening Grand Prix of the year. Norris will be desperate to try and close up in the remaining laps, knowing that when it was in different conditions, he was able to do so towards the end of the sprint. Just try and harry Piastri home. That gap has been static at 6 seconds for a while, though. Verstappen now 1.7 seconds away from George Russell, which is why you're looking at the pair of them heading to turn 17.
And Verstappen has just done his best lap of the race, matching the pace of Piastri out front. So on the hard tyres right now, the Red Bull looks a little bit more comfortable. Leclerc saying he's stuck now. Oh, the mediation of 2-star drivers, even if they're 7th and 8th. Not easy for Ferrari. That's the thing when you have team orders. Hamilton is gaining on Antonelli. Antonelli had a scrappy lap on the last lap and lost a good chunk of time. So it's now 4 seconds. But Leclerc was also nibbling that time away. When you're a driver behind, you've always got to be pushing. You've always got to be saying, I can go way quicker than this. I could be hauling in those drivers in front. But then you get there and you kind of need to back it up. And if you get the position with the team orders, which is what happened, and you don't have that extra gear to go, then it can be a little bit awkward. And that's kind of what's happened now. Hamilton hasn't found the additional pace. Leclerc's still right with him, and they're just circulating in a different order, but still together.
It's lap 43 of 57. Oscar Piastri leads Lando Norris by exactly 6 seconds. Norris is ahead of George Russell by a mile. Russell getting past Verstappen, who really took a lot out of his tyres earlier on. When he was defending from the 2 rivals he's got for the championship, and Verstappen is trying to undo the damage of the timing of the virtual safety car. Russell gets rid of a tear-off strip from the visor. Russell determined to climb back onto the rostrum. He's always been in contention in the top 5 this year, every single session of consequence. He said he couldn't really get the car to do what he wanted after qualifying. Just hasn't clicked for him, was the sentence that he used before the lights went out today. And it was a sprint pole for Antonelli, who will have learnt as well. Antonelli still learning all the way through, only in his 6th Grand Prix in Formula 1. On for points once again. Antonelli has only missed out on a top 10 finish on 1 occasion, and that was in Bahrain.
Verstappen takes another 0.2 out of Russell on the last lap. The Red Bull has still a powerful DRS. It's a long DRS zone on this zone where they're coming up to right now. He needs another 0.6 of a second or 0.7 of a second to get the chance to open the flap in the rear wing and have a launch at George Russell. Russell's been super impressive this year as well. He's been the picture of consistency, leading the Mercedes team. This weekend we've been speaking a lot about Kimi Antonelli. His 1-lap pace has been stunning for an 18-year-old. But as the race has gone on, Russell he's obviously lucked in a little bit with the timing of the safety car, but he's got himself to a position of fighting for a podium. 3 podiums from 5 races in the Mercedes. He's not a stranger to the top 3. But nor's Verstappen and the 2 of them, who have both been really, really good, plucky underdogs against the mighty McLarens. They're exactly that today. 27 seconds between Norris and Russell.
The separation between my legs is to the right. I'm getting stuck with it.
So a pinch in the cockpit for Charles Leclerc.
So I think he's talking about knee padding there. So where the drivers, you've got your 2 pedals and you have underneath the steering wheel, you see the knee padding, the foam there, in yellow, behind Charles' steering wheel. I wonder if it's just moving away, if that's what he's talking about. He's just getting his right foot then is becoming harder to manoeuvre perfectly over the throttle. It's not slowing him down. He's 7/10 behind Hamilton.
Final obstacle between Oscar Piastri and Grand Prix victory is about to appear in front of him. It's the traffic that is a lap down, and where you catch the traffic around this international autodrome is crucial, because if you catch them through the sweepers from turn 2 to the end of turn 8, you can lose a huge amount of time. Norris is trying to put the pressure on. Piastri has been behind Lance Stroll since turn 11 now, and he's the race leader, catching the Aston Martin, about to go a lap down, and the gap has come down from 6 seconds to 5.4.
Yeah, it might come down a little bit more. As you say, Piastri in the high speed now, still behind Lance Stroll. So Norris has a chance to apply a bit of pressure here. 11 laps to go. If he can get a that gap down to a couple of seconds, then you never know what can happen. Just needs a chance to put some pressure on. I have to say, Oscar Piastri is fairly unflappable, and he's had a lot of pressure in some of his race wins so far. I'm thinking back to China, where Lando wanted the chance to close in and then had a brake issue, but you don't often see Oscar crumbling under pressure. It's the best that Lando can hope for now, though. Gets the gap within 5 seconds.
And Piastri has got by. So blue flag being waved to Lance Stroll, and Stroll jumping out of the way of it. So it's now under 5 seconds, down from 6. But obviously we are ticking towards the end of the race. We're focusing on the Ferraris. If you've joined this race late, I suggest that you hit rewind and enjoy the opening laps of what was a fantastic exhibition of wheel-to-wheel racing from the top 3 drivers in the World Championship. Piastri elevated after a close moment on the opening lap between Norris and Verstappen. Norris dropping down to the 6th position in the Grand Prix. Piastri with an opportunity to attack the race leader. He was able to get by. Norris had closed in all the way to that battle for the lead, and then a similar spectacular wheel-to-wheel tussle between Norris and Verstappen gave Piastri an advantage of 9 seconds that Norris has been trying to recover ever since.
I think he's going to run out of laps at the moment. He too now is catching Lance Stroll to put a lap on the last circulating driver. 16th place Lance Stroll, 15th place Fernando Alonso. 2 Aston Martins having another miserable weekend. Verstappen 1.5 seconds. He's a little bit stuck now behind Russell. Cannot find that extra bit of pace to get to the 1 second away, and then he can use the DRS that's powerful with 3 zones around this circuit. If he can get there, he will have an attack for 3rd position, but at the moment he's just being frustrated. Albon's driving brilliantly in this Grand Prix, and he's pulling away from Kimi Antonelli, who is being caught now by Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. So the 2 Ferraris may yet have a fight for 6th.
And that's how it stands after a breathless start to this Grand Prix. We wondered whether the rain would arrive. We didn't need it for the action at the start. The rain has missed the circuit. It's been in the vicinity of Miami Gardens. We had rain earlier on today. It meant that the early laps were scrappy. The cars were moving around on high fuel. It was low grip. And then the track has rubbered in as we've continued. You're looking at the tyre age graphic there. You can see Hamilton on an 18-lap-old medium, Charles Leclerc on a 17-lap-old hard, and he is not happy having been swapped out of the way, and he's saying that he's overheating the tyres. You can see the tyre marbles on the left-hand side and the right away from the racing line. The little balls of rubber that get discarded from the tyre and nestled by the side of the racing line on the surface. Oscar Piastri was going over when he passed Lewis Hamilton in the Saudi Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri, by the way. Piastri on for 3 Grand Prix wins in a row, and he's getting closer. He'd be the first McLaren man to win 3 in a row since Mika Hakkinen in 1998. It's been a while for McLaren, but this has been a sensational day for the team based in Woking in the UK.
Another second comes off the lead. Has gone from 5 to 4 and may just go under that as Piastri follows and now clears Fernando Alonso there, the driver in 15th. He's not finding it too easy through the traffic. The laps are still ticking down and the gap is still significant enough. Ferrari, the management are having an absolute headache here. Leclerc now in exactly the position that Hamilton was, chasing, stuck in the DRS zone, wanting the team orders. So if you gave it to Hamilton, you think maybe you give it back to Leclerc, but then you're just wasting overall race time. It's not easy.
So Hamilton demanding from the team, and the team listening to his point about getting out of the way in China. Ferrari ultimately, you covered it earlier, Jody, they're not where they want to be. It's 7th and 8th. McLaren are in a different universe to anyone out there today. And you're looking at the race leader on the hard tyres. This is Oscar Piastri. He's cleared Fernando Alonso, and he's got a while now to Hülkenberg and Gasly, who are the next cars to make his way by. They will get blue flags when the Australian driver catches them.
They might not catch them. Hülkenberg's going pretty quickly out there in the Sauber. The rest of the field are pretty compact. It's just the Aston Martins who are 11 and 18 seconds away from the next slowest car. So Piastri now can get his head down, find the rhythm, and knock out these 8 laps. Norris still 4.1 seconds away.
We continue to focus on the Ferraris with the slightly altered livery. I always like to tease that they're going to go away from the reds and then don't go away from the reds. Did it last year, did it this year, and
still bought it this year?
Still bought it, yep. Still thought they would.
Maybe it'll be next year.
Well, I'll get my hopes up next year as well. And then have them dashed. They don't want to depart from the Ferrari red. Ferrari did once win a championship with John Surtees back in 1964 with a blue and white livery. Enzo Ferrari got into a bit of an argument with the FIA, didn't think the Italian Federation gave him enough backing, and he took the Italian racing colour of red off the car. Trivia you never knew you needed to know on lap 50 of 57. And let's see whether we'll get any more team radio chatter between these two. Ultimately, though, Ferrari in a huge chunk of time to find. Lewis Hamilton is 53 seconds off the lead held by Oscar Piastri.
Nudging his way towards Antonelli still, but it's little bits here or there, not even 2/10 on the last lap. So they look up and they can see Antonelli, they can see Albon. That's 5th position, but it's a long old straight, and they're certainly not going to get to Albon at the end of this race. And the way they're going, I don't think they're going to get to Antonelli either.
Alex Albon having a great run, taking matters into his own hands. 5th position would match his best result of the season so far. That was scored in Melbourne earlier in the year, the season opener. That was won by Lando Norris, by less than a second. Max Verstappen chasing him all the way home. But when Lando Norris has the one win this year, Oscar Piastri finding himself looking at 4 for the season and extending his championship lead in a few laps' time.
Hang on to your hats. Could be a battle for 13th in 6 laps' time. It'll be a final lap showdown. Gasly v Hulkenberg.
We were spoiled earlier on. We were absolutely given all the courses of overtaking, starter, main and dessert earlier on. And these two are all going to fight their way to the end. Hulkenberg looking to make forward progress with Sauber. How relieved will Sauber be that Hulkenberg took that opportunity in the wet to score those points, because that car has been on average the slowest in the Formula 1 field this year.
Focus on the battle that may come for 3rd instead, if that's all right. Russell with Verstappen closer than he's ever been. The gap has been ebbing and flowing by 10ths here or there. It was up to 2 seconds, and Verstappen's just found another little bit of pace. He's more than 3/10 quicker than Russell on the last tour. 6 laps to go, and he is very close to getting that DRS zone. And if he can get within that, then he'll be where Charles Leclerc is. But with a Red Bull that has a really effective DRS, it's really efficient when they open the flap in the rear wing, and there'll be a chance, I think, for him to fight for that podium. Russell will be desperate to keep him outside of that 1 second zone. Max also has that speed in the first sector.
Are we coming back on Antonelli?
We are, but quite slowly. How much faster could you go in free air?
I have no idea. I have no overheating.
I think I would swap them back round now if I was Ferrari. You've given Hamilton a chance. They're not going to catch Antonelli, I don't think. It's going to be tight, but you might as well now give Charles the chance to just see if he can get there a little bit quicker. Maybe it's not going to be, but even then, you've managed to sort of reverse the team orders that you put on if it doesn't work for Leclerc. I don't think Hamilton's going to get there.
Let's see whether Ferrari have another swap for us. And Hamilton has been told to swap the positions. So Ferrari getting a lot of airtime with this, but not a lot of points. 7th and 8th. No matter which way round they swap, they're going to try and see if Leclerc can do anything towards the end. And I imagine Lewis Hamilton is going to feather out of the throttle in a couple of meters' time and let Charles Leclerc back through. Ferrari trying everything, and it's Charles Leclerc's go to try and hunt down the Mercedes.
Yes, they've basically just lost race time with this. As Hamilton backs off, Leclerc had to back off as well. Hamilton stays ahead for the moment. Will he let Charles go into the first corner? He's got DRS as well, Leclerc. He's not going to make an authentic move. He's too far back for that. Hamilton's going to stay ahead.
Having fun with Ferrari's team radio this year, aren't we? They were expecting the positions to swap, and Charles Leclerc being told to try again next lap. Lots of fun. 3.7 seconds for the lead of the Grand Prix out front. as Piastri closes in on Nico Hülkenberg to lap the cell.
We can make a big issue out of this, but either way, I don't know if they're even going to get Antonelli with the perfect race. They just don't have the pace, is the fundamentals here. Leclerc wasn't doing a lot before when he was ahead, and it certainly looked like Hamilton was quicker. Hamilton's then got the position, and he's not really gaining enough.
We'll try again next lap.
It's okay, it's okay. Now, we are seeing Antonelli. Let's try to get him, and then otherwise we are going to lose more time than anything. Then we discuss after the race.
That'll be a fun debrief. Either way, it's Charles Leclerc's go now. Up to P7 he goes. Lewis Hamilton was given the chance to fight, and now it's the man from Monaco's turn. Let's see whether we can put any pressure on in the final stages, running out of laps.
Yeah, and there you see what Charles was talking about. By swapping, you do lose that bit of race time there. The gap that was 2.3 seconds from Hamilton to Antonelli is now 3 seconds as the closer driver just loses time. And as I said, I don't think Hamilton was going to get there. And conventionally, if you swap the places and it's not going to change anything, you'd swap them back so that you sort of undo the artificialness of your team strategy, and that's what's happened now. And Leclerc could just hammer it for 5 laps on a hard tyre that's durable, more durable than the medium that Hamilton's on, and see if he can get back to Antonelli. But it's an even taller order for him.
And Sainz 1.4 behind.
Going to let fast as well.
Oh dear. Well, the only good thing for Lewis Hamilton's day has been the entertainment value on the radio, because we haven't heard Lewis Hamilton give us so much radio gold in a very long time, but it's not what he signed for Ferrari to do.
I'm enjoying the cheek. They just don't have the pace. I think that's the overriding thing. 7th and 8th. Sainz has just been there as a looming menace, and more of a problem for Ferrari's team radio than the Ferrari drivers overall. And Hamilton stays within DRS range of Leclerc as well, so you should be safe from Sainz. But Sainz is having a very good drive, as still is Alex Albon, and George Russell continues to steer clear of Verstappen. 1.8 seconds, and the gap's still just coming down before going back up a little bit. Russell ticking down the laps. Norris 3.5 seconds away from Piastri. He's had the better pace in this race, and his Grand Prix was just undone by that first corner. And then the big moment where the gap ballooned to 9 seconds and he couldn't clear Verstappen at the first time of asking.
Defining stuff. We thought it at the time, and it has turned out to be the case. You can see that Max Verstappen, let's apply the live points for you, moving to 99. Piastri on 131, Norris on 115. It stays that way all the way to the end. No reason to suggest that it wouldn't. And Verstappen trying to minimise the damage by getting past George Russell. He will hope that he can stay in contention, keep providing magic pole positions, and hope that the load test, which is going to change in Barcelona on the front wing that decides so much about a car's overall performance, he will hope that that resets the order. Man, he is hustling the car all over the curbs. He's giving it everything, not trying to let that Mercedes escape. But I think he's run out of rubber and he's running out of laps.
Yeah, he was absolutely all over the place there in the low-speed corners. They've not been his friend. You could see him sliding around earlier on when he had the McLarens crawling over the back of him. But they're just trying to get back towards Russell. I think he's realised now the ghost is up. He's had a scrappy first sector, and maybe it's a bit of frustration now from Max with just 3 laps to go. The fight for the podium is done now, and I think he was maybe just taking a bit of anger out in the car, to be honest, there in the low speed, just giving it a bit of throttle, bit of slide. This isn't going to come back for him, and it's the safety car that has changed this race. He should have had a podium on merit.
Just reminding you that Yuki Tsunoda has that 5-second penalty. Isaac Hadjar 4.8 seconds behind him in the battle for the final point. So that's not a battle between the two cars on the racetrack, but it is a battle on the timing page. Tsunoda got that penalty for speeding in the pit.
Little time trial to the end of the race then between those two. They both have clear air. Tsunoda, I mean, again, it shows the job that Verstappen's doing when Tsunoda is 30 seconds away from his teammate and just not having the pace to get back to the Williams. Williams don't use them disparagingly, though. They're running like a front runner this weekend. And Hadjar flirting with that 5-second gap.
And it is now over 5 seconds, so Yuki still getting used to the Red Bull, still getting used to the difference. He was talking about the difference. And we're on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix.
Just make sure you're within 5 seconds, Max, please.
Why is that?
Just keep up the pace, please, Max.
So Red Bull, I think, have seen what we saw, where you could just see the sort of shoulder slumping of a Formula One car. You know, that moment where you've given up the ghost, you've tried everything, and you're just sliding around in frustration. But they're obviously thinking that George Russell could be in trouble for some sort of penalty infringement, and that's why they want to keep their driver within 5 seconds in case that arises. I don't know what it would be for. He's not under investigation at the moment, but potentially GP and Red Bull think there's something to come.
So just procedurally doing it by the book. Well, it's a Grand Prix defined by the start and the scrap that we saw. Today's task, how quickly could you pass Max Verstappen? What a contender to try and get by. Piastri, he lost the gap to his teammate as he tried to make the move, but he did make the move. Norris tried the same thing and the gap ballooned up to 9 seconds. Norris has tried to fight back ever since and he's got the gap down to 4 seconds, but this is the 57th and last lap of the Miami International Autodrome, and Oscar Piastri is on his way to a third consecutive Grand Prix victory, his fourth of the season, and an extended championship lead. In his wildest dreams, did he really believe that this season was going to start this well? Regardless of the answer to that question, Piastri is on his way to complete another incredibly strong drive in Formula One.
It's starting to look like dominance, isn't it, with the way that he's ticking through these Grand Prix? This one has been anything but that. He has had to work for it. Remember, he started fourth on the grid. Picked off Norris as Lando went wide on the first lap, found overtaking moves on Antonelli, and then critically Verstappen. And he is ticking the boxes at the moment. The championship leader will increase his championship lead.
Oscar Piastri was in the mix last year and he was furious with the timing of a safety car. That applied last year, it applied yesterday, but this time he rotates the McLaren out of the 17th corner and the Australian driver will see the checkered flag first. Oscar Piastri wins the Miami Grand Prix. 3 Grand Prix victories in a row. The first McLaren driver to do that since 1998. It's a 1-2 for the team. Piastri extends his championship lead. Norris is second across the line, and George Russell. Isn't this an explanation of how dominant? Isn't this a picture of how far McLaren have been ahead? We've had the team celebration shots, and Russell isn't even at the last corners of the racetrack, but he will have a hard-fought podium. Timing the virtual safety car crucial, but Russell converts, and he beats Max Verstappen to the line. Verstappen in fourth. It will be an elated Williams team in a few seconds' time when Alex Albon matches his season opener with P5, and we're racing all the way to the end. The former Ferrari man and the man who replaced him banging wheels in the final corners. Antonelli was 6th, then it was 7th for Charles Leclerc, and Hamilton hangs on to P8 by 0.3 of a second. We're not done yet. Sainz is in 9th. Who is going to get there? Sonoda crosses the line. Can Hadjar get within 5 seconds? No, he misses out when the penalty is applied by 1/10 of a second after 57 laps. Here's your race winner.
Well done, Oscar. Great job. Really smooth. Pace was phenomenal.
Nice spin-up.
Well, we were breathless in the commentary box, and there were some amazing overtakes, but Oscar Piastri, it's got to be something special to get that man worked up on the radio, getting used to Grand Prix victory.
Yeah, he is putting weekends together supremely well at the moment. Really, really looking like a championship contender in the making. Wondered at the start of the year if this was Norris's year. It could still be. It was a decent drive from Lando. But my word, his teammate has come on leaps and bounds. McLaren were on a different planet in this race. They had such a dominant car and they used it to the full extent.
Late send. Hamilton turns in. We're definitely in the land that gave us the phrase rubbing is racing, and in the end it changed nothing.
Yeah, little bit clumsy that one from Sainz.
Yeah, he moved a bit under brake in there.
He did maybe turn in slightly early, but I think it was a big old lunge and not. It was a bit sort of half baked there for Sainz, only just getting his nose alongside the rear wheels of the Ferrari. He's got a 13-second gap back to Yuki Tsunoda. It's under investigation, but I don't think anything's going to change for that one.
Fourth on the grid to the win for Oscar Piastri, who found himself up to second position, gave us a brilliant battle with Max Verstappen. He got by, he built the lead, he stayed in that position, and he now has more career wins in Formula One than his teammate. 6 wins for Oscar Piastri, and it's a first ever triumph in Miami for the Australian, who is leaping off the car as a winner once again in Formula One. 4 Grand Prix wins in 2025 and an extended championship lead now. Last year, the headlines, the stories, all made by Lando Norris with his breakthrough. But what an improvement in qualifying this year for Oscar Piastri, who is dancing right now. That's about the only thing that hasn't gone to plan today. And he says hello to his teammate, who says well done. Piastri at the flag, the winner by 4.6 seconds. And your provisional top 10. Piastri, Norris, Russell on the podium once more. Verstappen, Albon, Antonelli, Leclerc, Hamilton, Sainz, and Tsunoda. Well, you know it's a good season. You know things are going to plan when you've got a celebration planned with your mechanics, even if that one wasn't executed as well as his Grand Prix was.
Well, yeah, going to be a judge on Strictly coming up.
He didn't seem overly enamoured with what he'd done.
It was a cautious celebration, wasn't it? It was the most animated he's been all afternoon, I think. Having a little jig to his team. Running out of the old celebrations, starting to spruce things up. All smiles between the McLaren drivers, though. What a weekend. It might work on the dance moves for the next time.
Yeah, Dancing with the Stars in this part of the world, strictly in the UK. As the McLaren men begin their debrief. Here's George Russell just pulling in. He's picked up the rubber and, long in lap. Both of the McLaren drivers out of the car by the time that Russell's back in Parc Fermé. That was dominant. By recent Formula One standards, they were... time that Russell's back in Parc Fermé. That was dominant. By recent Formula One standards, they were miles ahead.
Yeah, really, really showing it. And